Hey guys. This is part 4 of What If Naruto Was the Storm Sage. Hit like and subscribe if you like this one, and also please check the author in the description. Let's start.
We are pain, that's all. We are God.
Chapter 31, Lightning Storm vs. Sandstorm. Hinata thought back on how she got into this state. One moment she was leaving the corridor and heading toward the participants' waiting area with Naruto, and next she was pinned to the wall by her boyfriend. As the sudden attack made her yelp in surprise, Naruto took full advantage of it as his lips swiftly descended on hers, his tongue snaking in and instantly making contact with Hinata's. He ravished her mouth with extreme vigor and pressed his body tightly against hers. The said girl was utterly surprised, but when she felt the chakra pill she understood what Naruto was doing. So she just went with the flow as she shyly accepted her boyfriend's aggressive kiss, making him to growl in satisfaction. The passionate kiss went until they had to separate because of the lack of air. It took a while before Hinata could calm her breathing and her erratic heartbeats. She looked down at Naruto, whose nose was at the crook of her neck as he was taking in on her scent. She gently started to rub his hair. "There are other ways to pass a medical pill," Hinata joked. Her cheeks were still red. "I wouldn't be an unpredictable ninja if I followed the common paths, now will I?" Naruto replied back smoothly. "Naruto Uzumaki vs. Sabaka no Gaara." Hearing the loud announcement, Naruto sighed lightly. Hinata cupped his cheeks and raised his head to look directly into his eyes. "You are going to be fine. Show them who is the boss." With that she kissed lightly on his lips. "Good luck, my Lightning King." Naruto smiled hearing that. "Thank you." With that he ran down the corridor. "Be safe," Hinata whispered to herself as she went toward the participants' waiting area. At the arena, Naruto entered to see Gaara already there waiting for him, though he looked a tad bit agitated. "Chill out, bro, what's the rush?" Naruto said offhandedly as he started to stretch a bit. Unbeknownst to him, he started to attract a lot of attention from the female population when they saw his new getup. "Both of you ready?" Hate asked, and looking at them he got his answer. "Go. Mother will have your blood," Gaara said as the sand started to pour out from his gourd. Naruto looked a bit stunned hearing that, but it was soon replaced with an irritated scowl. "Well, you can tell your fat-ass mommy that she can go suck my foxy daddy's furry dick." Total silence fell upon the arena as if time itself stopped. Inside Naruto's mindscape, Reiju was looking blankly at the mighty Kurama, who was rolling on the floor while laughing his ass out. He would stop to bang his paw and then roll around again. "Tell the brat that I would help him one time because of this show," Kurama said between his hysteric laughter. "Even I didn't trash talk the sandbag this badly before." Reiju's lips twitched upwards a bit. "I will, but I think he is busy right now. Avoiding your brother's attack is no easy task, especially when he is pissed." "Pfft," Kurama snorted. "The brat will be fine. Unless the sandbag decides to go full Biju mode on his ass, he will do okay." "Let's hope so," Reiju sighed. In the outside world, Naruto was in a pinch as Gaara's attack was much more vicious than what he anticipated. He had to jump and dash all around the arena to dodge the sand attack. Seeing the fierceness of Gaara, or rather of his sands, Naruto cursed his big mouth. Shadow Clone Jutsu. 5 copy of Naruto came out and ran at different directions as they took out a small paper ball. Gaara, on the other hand, was having trouble controlling his sands, as it was more like the sand was following his monster's order directly. To him it never happened before, and because of it he had a worse headache than usual. "Mother, calm down," Gaara was panting. "I will give you his blood, I promise." But his mumbling stopped when suddenly there was a splash sound. He looked to see that Naruto and his clones were throwing water balls at his sands, making them wet and heavy, which in turn was hampering their movement. Seeing that, Gaara's headache decreased, who understood what it meant. Gaara took control of the sands as he started to move around in a more organized and precise manner, but the damage was already done. He estimated that around 40% of his sand was drenched and was hard to maintain. But he still took out all of Naruto's clone with one good swipe, thinking that it would even out the field. Shadow Clone Jutsu. Clearly he didn't know Naruto. When the smoke cleared, this time 20 shadow clones came out and all were holding 2 paper balls in each hands. Naruto smirked when he saw Gaara getting frustrated. He started to like Fuinjutsu more and more. The paper balls were containers for water, but instead of having one huge container like Haku, he went for lots of small ones, and in that way he had more accuracy. His clones were throwing the paper balls at different areas of Gaara's sand, making it hard for him to control. Slowly he was chirping away his sands, and he didn't even started to go all out. "Enough!" bellowed Gaara and went through hand seals, too fast for Naruto to know what was coming at him. Quicksand waterfall flow. Nothing happened first except for all of his remaining sands going underground. But after a few seconds all hell broke loose. Beneath the ground a large sea of sand rose. It gathered around Gaara before slamming onto the ground, spreading around the whole area like tsunami waves and crushing everything. "Are you fuck?" was all Naruto could say before he and all of his clones were drowned by the ocean of sand. The whole area was shaking and the ground rose few meters high. Outside the arena, "Naruto!" Hinata shouted when she saw Naruto got swept away by the sand waves. All the other genins and participants were either awestruck or scared when they saw the devastating power of Gaara. In a matter of seconds, Gaara changed the arena to his liking while crushing his opponent like he was no more worth than a bug. The sheer demonstration of Gaara's power made even the Jonin to tense up. Although they were hoping Naruto would be okay, but their voice wasn't that hopeful. They did wonder why the Suna kid went so far and how he got so much power. For now they were glad that Yamato wasn't there, or Gaara's Jonin instructor's head would be rolling off by now. "Guess now we will see if the kid really does have storm release or no," Darui thought as he looked down at the arena. Back at the arena. Sand waterfall imperial funeral. Gaara didn't wait a bit as he went for his second jutsu. This time the sand that covered the arena started to flatten and crush whatever was beneath it. But suddenly at one area the whole ground exploded as huge amount of lightning started to come out from there. And the same lightning slowly took a rough form of a barrier around the crater as the rest of the sand were harmlessly stuck outside. Naruto came out from the crater. The lightning shield decreased in size but was still around him. He looked at Gaara and cracked his neck. "Damn! You really went all out there," he stated as he looked around to see the damage caused by Gaara's jutsus. One thing caught Gaara and everyone's attention was that now Naruto was wielding two swords which were different from one another. One was a long katana with a sky blue colored blade, and around the blade collar there was some unknown marking. The spacer and the handle of the katana had a unique design as if they were representing something. The other one was a short sword of Western style. From the guard to the center of the blade there were some unique patterns. But what caught the attention was the small gem engraved in the middle of the cross guard of the sword. "Like my swords?" Naruto smirked when he saw how Gaara was on guard the moment his eyes fell on his weapons. He couldn't blame him. After all, his weapons were reforged and enhanced by Reiju, a divine beast. The aura of the sword would be unsettling for Gaara, who was relying too much on his monster. Gaara didn't reply anything as he raised his arm. Following his command, the sands all around him started to rise and gathered around him again. Seeing that, Naruto narrowed his eyes. "Oh no, you don't." The gem inside Naruto's short sword glowed as he channeled his chakra into it. Slowly lighting chakra started to envelop the blade of the sword, and the chakra extended, altering the shape of the short sword into the same as the katana he was holding on his other hand. From a different perspective, it was as if Naruto was holding two same sword, with one made of pure steel while the other was made of lightning chakra. Twin moon storm style, crescent moon. This time the lightning energy wave was much stronger, and from above the shape of the attack looked exactly like a crescent moon. When the attack connected the sands, a huge lightning explosion occurred. Gaara was made to jump back as his sand took defensive form to protect him from the huge blast. Although he didn't took any damage because of his shield of sand activating right on time, the area around them wasn't lucky as most of the sand was solidified. Closer part of the impacted area was even turned to glass. "So how do you like my Reiju no Ken? You can just call him Raiken for short." Naruto grinned wildly. Outside the arena. "That was a storm release technique, wasn't it?" "Yes, it was," Darui replied. "Even I can't fuse my storm release with weapons. So we are going with the plan." It would seem so. For the rest of the Konoha 12 who was sitting in the stadium, they were awestruck. Most of them didn't know about Naruto possessing bloodline or him being capable of using swords. But when the Jonins around them started to whisper about him having storm release bloodline, they were taken aback. The Jonins were even praising his weapons, saying it was of high quality. "Did any of you know that Naruto has a bloodline?" Ino asked, looking around, but the dumbfounded faces of her friends gave her the answer. "Well, he did use that strange jutsu to beat Kiba, but no one pondered much on it as our Jonin sensei didn't say anything," Tenten said as she tried to focus on Naruto. Kiba just grumbled hearing that. Wow, so Sasuke isn't the only one with a bloodline? Chuji asked as he kept munching on his chips. Yeah, but I still think Sasuke's one is the best, Sakura mumbled. Not exactly. Hearing that, everyone looked at Niji, who just grumbled. He wasn't the type who liked to be in the spotlight. Sharingan and Byakugan is more of a passive type of bloodline, while Naruto's one is an aggressive type. And even Sharingan is unable to copy jutsu from an elemental or active type of bloodlines. Also, can you imagine what someone like Naruto, who has tons of chakra, can do with a destructive elemental bloodline like that? Niji explained as much as he could. Everyone shivered when they tried to imagine what Niji just described. One thing crossed all of their minds was that they were glad that Naruto was on their side. Back at the arena, Naruto really loved his new swords. Reiju told him how his Raikon was different from Kiba. The katana was made from Kiba, and the only difference between that and the original Kiba was his katana could store pure lightning into it, although there was a limitation of how much it could store. And the short sword was made purely by Reiju. It was to give Naruto more flexibility. His short sword had the ability to create and stabilize different weapons forms, but he had to master it first. For now, he could only do katana form and one more. Naruto put the katana on his back and the short sword on his thigh belt holster. He had other plans for Gaara's sand defense. He made some shadow clones and each started to run at different directions one more time. Seeing that, Gaara went through some hand seals thinking Naruto was going for his old tricks, but once again he underestimated Naruto. Uzumaki style, piercing phantom arrow. Lightning-enhanced kunai came at Gaara with extreme speed. Gaara was surprised when all the kunai went through his sand shield, literally. Although Gaara didn't get any serious deep cuts as all the kunai gazed him. What he didn't know that Naruto had put paralyzing poison in those kunai. Gaara started to feel the effect of the poison quite soon as his control of the sand started to stammer. Naruto took a deep breath as he started to prepare for his next jutsu. He knew that this would stir a lot of commotion, but he wouldn't be Naruto if he would let this chance slip by. As raw chakra slowly started to gather and spin around Naruto's palm, everyone's eyes started to widen who knew about the legendary jutsu. Gaara knew that whatever Naruto was going to do would be bad for him, and as usual his sands heeded his inner thoughts as most of the sand gathered around him and solidified his shield of sand. The rest of the sand started to take form of huge sand shuriken. Two of Naruto's shadow clones stood in front of the original. One shadow clone transformed into a Fuma shuriken as the other one threw the giant weapon at Gaara, who ignored it, believing that his sand would be able to block it as he sent all of his sand shuriken at Naruto. To his surprise, the Fuma shuriken changed back to clone and the original Naruto used Kawarimi with the said clone, instantly closing the gap by a huge margin and at the same time dodging all of his sand shuriken. Seeing the danger, Gaara's shield covered his full body. Rasengan. Naruto plunged the pure chakra sphere onto the sand, which started to drill into the shield, and slowly it went inside, albeit with some difficulty. For a few seconds nothing happened, and then from behind the sand shield Gaara came out and flew backward, all the way till the end of the arena. He got slammed into the wall, and went through it, literally. Everyone's jaw dropped to the floor as they witnessed the event transpiring at the arena. But before any could retort, the whole stadium was covered by feathers falling from the sky. Naruto was taken aback when Baki, the Jonin instructor, suddenly got into the arena, and without a word dashed toward him. Sometimes earlier. So when do you think they are going to strike? Ibiki asked the Jonin head and their chief strategist. If I were to guess, it would be sometime around one of the Chunin exam fights. Shikaka sighed. I wish our patrol teams find those targets soon. Ibiki rubbed his forehead. They already found one target, but the problem is we have to take it out fast before the other party can realize what is going on. War sure is so troublesome. Shikaka started to look through the map. Everything is too troublesome for you. Inoichi laughed. Currently Inoichi, Shikaku and Ibiki were in Konoha Umbu headquarters as they were preparing for the upcoming battle. When Ibiki spied on Kabuto and learned about the surprise attack, he went to gather information personally, and with enough proof he talked with the third directly. Hokage was saddened when he learned about the Sand's betrayal, but he didn't want to create commotion, so he asked Jiraiya for help, who advised him to go for counterattack instead of attacking first. So instead of telling everyone, Hiruzen only informed few people in the Umbus so that their counterattack would remain a surprise. Now these three people had taken control of the command center, and was ordering few small but strong units that started working from the dawn to take out as many enemies as they could. You really have to give it to that girl, Haku was it? If she didn't tell you about the traitor Genin, who knew what would have happened? Inoichi said. The Proctor Hate already was suspicious of him, but if he were to trail them he might not have come out of there alive. Ibiki replied as sat down and relaxed for a second. That girl is good and I sincerely hope that she stays here in Konoha. She can be a really valuable asset to us. It's rare to see you praising someone, Ibiki. Shikaku joked but instantly went on alert. Team 4 has found the main target. Hearing that, the other two got up and came near the table. So what now? Ibiki asked. They are going to engage as soon as the other 3 teams come to their location. According to them, this is something big, so they will not take any chances. Shikaku stopped for a second before he looked at Inoichi. Sent the alarm. The invasion is going to happen soon. Inoichi didn't even ask a single question as he immediately started to relay orders. I will go and alert the rest of the villages. Ibiki said, but before he could go, Shikaku stopped him. Alert the Jonins in the stadium first. Ibiki nodded and took off. He looked at the map of Konoha before him before running his hand through his hair. I sincerely hope that the invasion is not going to be too troublesome. But in less than 5 minutes huge explosions occurred outside, making him to sigh. So it begins. At the arena, Naruto looked at Asuma, who was holding back Baki with a stunned expression. But the chaos all around the stadium broke him out of his stupor quickly, although before he could ask anything he narrowed his eyes when he saw Temari and Kankuro taking Gaara off to somewhere. Hate, gather all the genin and follow the invasion protocol. Asuma dodged a wind blade and blocked the second one with his. Hate nodded and immediately took off with Naruto behind his tail, who followed his suit reluctantly. Seeing that they were out of his sight, Asuma loosened up his stance and looked at Baki. Guess it is time for the counterattack to begin. All of Baki's danger senses went off. But he couldn't even go and tell anyone else as Asuma immediately went aggressive. With Naruto. Hait-san, what is going on? Naruto asked as he looked around to see fights breaking out everywhere. We are under attack. It seems that Suna backstabbed us with the Sound Village, but don't worry, the Leaf will prevail. Hate said with a resolute voice. Their first stop was at the participants' area, but was surprised what they saw there. What happened here? Hate asked. That area wasn't looking any good. Temari had thrown a small bomb before she took off. We were caught off guard. Hinata replied as she was helping Ranmaru to get up. What about the Kumonins? Hate was getting frustrated. I don't know, when the smoke cleared they were already gone. Ranmaru said between coughs. Hait-san, you have to let me go. I need to find Gaara before it is too late. Naruto asked desperately. Hate was confused when he heard Naruto's voice. What do you mean? Gaara is like me, but he is more unstable. Hate immediately understood what Naruto was telling him and was surprised to see that Naruto knew about his condition. I can't let you go alone. Then let me go with him. He needs my eyes to pinpoint their location, and I know about Naruto's condition. Hinata volunteered instantly. Hate started to debate inwardly, knowing full well that if Naruto was right, then they needed to follow Kazekage's children, but he couldn't abandon the other genins. But when he saw the all-familiar purple hair, he sighed in relief. He motioned them to follow him. They landed in front of the VIP section where several Umbu was defending the area. Hate went toward one particular female Umbu. Nico-sen, I need your help and it's urgent. Yugao knew that something was wrong, so she followed Hate and met Naruto, Hinata and Ranmaru. Before she could ask, Hate continued. Naruto thinks Gaara is like him but more dangerous, and I think it is also true as the other children of Kazekage took him to somewhere. Yugao was surprised but didn't show it. I know this sounds unreasonable, but would you help them to get there? I believe Naruto can defeat him. He already did though. Hate said with a weak chuckle. I am guessing these two are coming as well. Yugao said, but Hate shook his head. Hinata will go but Ranmaru will stay, and it is not up for debate. The last part was directed at the genins. They agreed reluctantly. Then we should make haste. With that, Yugao, Naruto and Hinata left the stadium. Hate looked at their retreating back for a few seconds before turning and going toward the other side of the stadium with Ranmaru. With the Kumonins. Why didn't you grab the girl? You had the perfect chance. Shouted D. Because it would be unwise as it was too risky. C said. Wise choice. Darui said as he and his partner landed in front of them. And you shouldn't be talking too much after getting beaten so badly. Learn from it. D just scoffed but didn't say anything. C, I want you to sense our target. We came at the right time. This invasion is exactly what we needed to cover our tracks. Darui-sensei, so what's the plan? Yujuto asked. Simple, We wait for the right moment, and then we strike and leave as fast as we can. Number 3 has already sent words to the mercenary group outside who are waiting for our order. Derry's speech was interrupted by few strong explosions. Better we do it hurry. Number 3, Derry's partner, gave his thought. Got them. It seems the storm release user and the Bikugan girl are heading somewhere with another person. I would say the new person is low Jonin level. C reported. Perfect, guess Lady Luck is on our side. Number 3 smirked. Let's just hope no obstacles come in our way. Derry sighed as he looked at everyone else. Listen, we are to engage that team when they are out of sight. We strike swiftly, kill the Jonin and knock out our target. Derry narrowed his eyes dangerously. I mean knock them out swiftly, and if I see anyone trying to compromise the mission I will strike him down right there. He gulped visibly as everyone knew who he was talking about. Make sure not to harm the target too much, and remember failure isn't an option. Barked D. Now move out. At the Hokage stand. The moment the genjutsu was casted on the stadium, it was the signal to start the invasion. The Kage box erupted in smoke, blocking everyone's view inside there. Few things happen in a span of few seconds. Most of the people jumped away from the Kage box and took a defensive position, but Kazekage leaped at Hokage and immediately all his 4 bodyguards took every corner of the roof and swiftly they created a purple barrier. Baki, without waiting for any order, jumped to the arena, making Orochimaru, disguised as Kazekage, scowled when he understood that Baki was going after Naruto. But right now he concentrated on the task at hand. Hiruzen and Orochimaru separated immediately after their feet touched the ground. To think you would have fallen so far. Hiruzen sighed, making Orochimaru to tense up. You knew, sensei? Orochimaru dropped his disguise and gave a twisted smile at his mentor. I didn't want to believe at first, but after few pieces falling into right places everything made sense. Hiruzen removed his cloths to show that he was wearing his battle gear. And you are not the only one with surprises, my student. With that he threw his smoking pipe into the ground, which exploded, and when the smoke cleared up Orochimaru scowled what he saw. Nice to see you again, team. Orochimaru didn't wait even 1 second when he saw Jiraiya as he went for his jutsu. Formation of 10,000 snakes. Countless number of summoned snakes crawled out of Orochimaru's mouth and went toward the duo opposite of their master, and what made them more deadly was that they opened their mouths to extend Kusanagi like blades. Both Jiraiya and Hiruzen went through same hand seals and shouted together. Fire release, fire dragon flame bullet. The two same jutsu combined together and created one huge massive fire dragon and charged at the oncoming attack. When the two destructive jutsu met at the center, the fire dragon engulfed all the snakes with flames, completely obliterating them. But it gave Orochimaru enough time that he need to bring out his main technique. Summoning, impure world reincarnation. Coffins started to rise from the ground. Behind the pillars of flames, Hiruzen noticed it to some extent and gasped loudly when he understood which jutsu Orochimaru was using. He pumped up more chakra on his jutsu as he took control over the fire dragon and sent it to Orochimaru over the burning corpses of snakes. Orochimaru had to move away to dodge the fire dragon, effectively stopping him from bringing out the third coffin. When all the fire cleared out, 2 coffins stood tall in front of Orochimaru, who was laughing madly at Hiruzen and Jiraiya. Nice try both of you, but I have the advantage now. The lid of the coffin fell and 2 figures came out, seeing whom made Jiraiya and Hiruzen to shudder. The figures stopped and looked at the duo. Sensei. Hiruzen whispered. Long time no see, old monkey. Said the first person, who was none other than the first Hokage. Edo Tensei. The second figure, who was the second Hokage and the creator of the said forbidden jutsu, said with a heavy voice. He looked back to see a grinning Orochimaru. Am I to presume that you brought us back using my forbidden jutsu? Orochimaru laughed loudly. Yes, that would be me. I would like to say that you created one ingenious jutsu. Nothing has beaten this jutsu in terms of originality and usability so far. I told you not to play around with forbidden jutsu. Hashirama sighed. Shut it, you lazy-ass brother. Tobirama growled. Sorry to burst your reunion, but I got a village to destroy. Orochimaru took out 2 talisman, but before he could put into the back of the revived Hokage's heads, a huge amount of water fell over him as he was completely drenched, but the worst part was the talisman was soaked as well, rendering it useless. Orochimaru seethed as he looked at Tobirama, who just shrugged. My bad. This is impossible. You can't harm the one who summoned you. Bellowed Orochimaru. Technically I didn't harm you, rather I gave you a shower because you had a bad smell. Tobarama answered casually. Enough. Orochimaru was beyond angry. First he couldn't summon his backup, and now his only way to completely control the two Hokage was destroyed. Go deal with the toad. I will take care of Sensei myself. Shit. Was all Jiraiya could say before the two Hokage pounced on him, making him to separate from Hiruzen, who was left to fight against Orochimaru. Can't we talk about this? Jiraiya was shouting as he was running away from the rampaging Kages. You two are supposed to be amongst the strongest Kage. Can't you do something about this? Unfortunately, Hashirama jumped and tried to punch Jiraiya, who dodged away at right moment. The kid over there decreased our power level. I need some time to break out from this, but I am not sure if I can do it with my current power. Hashirama chuckled weakly. If I were to say, the brat would have released our full power after he had implanted the talisman. Tobarama tried to back kick and followed up with another one, but Jiraiya dodged both. Your reflexes are good, praised Tobarama. When you have an angry horde of women chasing after you, your reflexes will improve tremendously. Jiraiya thought, but kept it in his mind. Suddenly an idea came to him. I am quite good with Fuinjutsu. Is there any way I can use that against this jutsu? Tobarama had a thoughtful expression, but his body was still attacking Jiraiya non-stop. I think there might be a way, but before that, can you tell me who is that kid? Tobarama asked. You mean Orochimaru, Not that imbecile. I meant the blonde brat over there. Tobarama pointed at Naruto. Jiraiya was surprised how Tobarama pinpointed him all the way from here. Hashirama seemed to notice him as well. Now that you mentioned, his chakra does stands out, and it feels really similar to ours. Is he Tsunade's child? Hashirama asked. No, he is an orphan who, the kid wasn't dropped from the sky, you idiot. We are asking who were his parents. Tobarama asked, but he met with silence, which Jiraiya would regret later. You know what, I think I will tell you the failsafe of the jutsu a tad bit later. It is high time the brats of this age are taught how to respect their elders. Tobarama cracked his knuckles, making both Jiraiya and Hashirama to go pale. I think I remembered now who his parents were. With the Kumo Nin. The Kumo Nins were following Naruto's team silently, not even once they stopped to help the civilians or anyone else. They had one thing in their mind, and it was to complete their missions. They sped up when they saw Naruto's team leaving the village and entering the outside forest, but they were stopped immediately. Two people came in front of them. One of them had distinctive pale skin and white hair. The other was taller and more muscular, who had spiky orange hair. Seeing their attire, the Kumo Nins knew that they were from Sound. But what actually caught them all off was their aura and stance. You have quarrel with Leaf Shinobi, not us. We are just leaving the village. We don't care what you do to this village, nor do we want to help. Darui said as he came front. Yes, but then why are you following those particular Leaf Shinobis? The white-haired guy said as he pointed his thumb at back, making all of the Kumo Nins to stiffen. Scatter. 10-finger drilling bullets. In just 1 second, C and Yujito got several cuts all over their bodies. Darui and number 3 cursed, knowing that their opponent was no pushover. We too will hold them. You three follow our target. Meet up with our reinforcements, and then capture them. Darui ordered, and his teammates didn't waste 1 minute as they went different directions. We didn't want any troubles. Number 3 growled. Name's Kimimaro and his is Yugo, said Kimimaro as he slowly started to walk toward them. Unfortunately, your actions were troubling for Orochimaru-sama, and that I cannot allow. Lightning release, Black Panther. Darui generated black lightning from his body, which took the form of a panther. It charged at Kimimaro and Yugo, fully intending to kill them. Piston Fist Style 1. With a loud explosion, the raging panther was destroyed like it was nothing. But this wasn't what surprised the Kumo Nins, rather the changes that started to appear on their opponents. With a pale face, they watched as Kimimaro and Yugo's appearances changed and took a more animalistic feature. Can I kill them, Kimimaro? Yugo asked hysterically. Of course, that is what we are tasked to do by Orochimaru-sama after all. At the residing area, the dead bodies of Sound and Sand ninjas were lying around him as he looked at them with a sigh. It seems no matter where I go, war always blooms. With another depressed sigh, he went toward one particular house. It was at the furthest, and it was built to hide itself from plain sight. He stopped and looked at the old and unused house. One particular fact caught his eyes, which made him smile. At the side of the door there was a plate where the name of the owner of the house was written, though the plate was old and rusty, making it hard to read the name, but he still got it. Uzumaki Kushina. Chapter 32, Prepared Leaf. In a shinobi war, most of the shinobi villages would always try to damage the opposing nation as much as they could, even if it meant to attack innocent civilians or kill academic students. That was why Suna and Oto forces were moving toward the civilian side of the Konoha as fast as they could. Their aim was to use the civilians as hostages and fight their way into the deeper part of Konoha. The moment they entered the civilian quarter, the leader immediately knew something was wrong. But before he could give any kind of command to his forces, large explosions occurred from where they came. Many of their soldiers got caught, and the rest knew what just happened. They were boxed in. Their leader immediately barked an order to take cover, and they did. But before he could give a second order, he was taken out. It happened too fast, and most of the attackers didn't saw what happened. But after taking out the leader, it was easy to take down the disarranged strike force for the Anbu Special Force. Cut the head of the snake and the body dies. At hospital, Sasuke knew something was wrong when he was taken to the hospital directly instead of the clinic ward available at the stadium. He told the Chunin that he was fine and there was no need to take him to the hospital. But they didn't pay any heed to him. Neither he nor Haku received injuries that required them to go to the hospital. And his theory was solidified when he saw how guarded the hospital was, as if it was a fortress. So instead of arguing with the people that were taking him to his room, he just observed the surroundings. He could see that senior doctors were tensed and there were too many shinobi lurking around. Even the nurses were running to and fro. He knew something was going to happen, something bad. The Chunin put both Sasuke and Haku in Lee's room before hurrying off. Sasuke saw that there were 2 people outside the door. He really didn't like where this was going. He took out 2 gloves and wore them. The gloves were a bit special as it had 2 rings on each fingers and lots of writings on the back and top of the palm. This was what he was working for the last whole week. He wondered how Naruto was faring with his fight. If he was being honest, it was Naruto who changed the most after graduating from academy. Not only changes, but also he accomplished a lot. His best achievement would be that he got a family. While thinking about this, his eyes fell on the unconscious girl beside his bed. And then it happened. He heard large explosions occurring far away and immediately there was a siren. That was a special siren, only to be used when Sasuke's eyes widened in realization as everything fell into pieces. The village was being invaded. He got up and went for the door, but before he could even open it, a large explosion occurred inside the hospital. It was so strong that it shook the whole building. Sasuke lost his balance, but he steadied himself. He opened the door in a hurry to see the guards went a bit far to help few people. Seeing this, we went toward the guards to help them, locking the door. Those bastards are not going to spare anyone. To think they would strike at the hospital first. If we don't do something, they are going to massacre everyone, including the injured and the innocent. Sasuke stopped dead on his track. Massacre. His Sharingan was automatically activated. He looked aside where he heard lots of shouting and screaming. And his legs moved on its own toward that place. Massacre. He saw a few old people lying around dead. But his eyes showed different people, different scene. Massacre. The empty compound, the eerily quiet houses. Massacre. His body was on autopilot mode. He went past few dead and heavily injured people. Then he came to one place where he saw the losing fight. The people that were protecting the hospital were losing badly, and around them there were bodies of patients and nurses, the innocent. What are you doing here, kid? One Leaf Nin looked toward, but that caused him his life as few kunai hit his vitals. He just looked at him and mouthed run before falling to the ground, dead. He looked at the scene in front of him. All the Konoha shinobi were dead, as well as the innocent bystanders. Massacre. He touched his gloves and all the seals activated. He then walked slowly toward the battlefield, his face void of expression, his eyes dead. With Haku. Haku woke up immediately when the building shook, needles ready. But she wobbled a bit and saw Sasuke going out. He locked the door, but he didn't look back. She wanted to follow but felt her legs giving out for a minute. What happened? Haku looked to her side to see Lee, who also had a defensive pose even though he was in his bed. I do not know, but I am going to check it out. Haku replied, but before she could go, she stopped. Haku looked at Lee. There was no way she could leave him like that. I have some chakra pills, will that help you to walk? There are some special kinds of pills in that drawer. Guy-sensei gave me those yesterday, saying that to take them in case of emergency. Lee pointed to the drawer near him. Haku nodded. After taking their respective pills and with the help of a crutch for Lee, They got out of the room and saw the chaos. "This is most unyouthful," Lee said in a horrified voice. "You think?" Haku's sweat dropped. They slowly made their way toward the entrance of the hospital, and all the time both of them had a defensive stance ready for anything. They would never forget the scene that greeted them when they came to the lobby. Friends or foes, no matter who it was, everyone was cut up cleanly. There were body parts everywhere. Haku even saw one enemy was crawling with one hand and was trying to reach his torso. Lee looked away, his face was green, and then one sound alerted Haku. She looked at the source to see Sasuke was emptying his stomach in a trash bin. Haku went to his side to ask what happened, but his blood-soaked hands and clothes told her everything. She wanted to know what he did, but when he looked at her, all of Haku's words died when she saw it, tears of blood. At the stadium, even amidst the raging battle, the Konoha shinobi were able to safely evacuate both nobles and civilians. Although there were some casualties, but no innocent bystanders died. As for the genin, they were being taken to a safe place by Yamato and Kurenai. Hade took the genin to them. After that he left to help somewhere else. From there the two jonin took charge of taking them to safety. Ranmura looked around. He never had a place where he could call home. The people at the place where he used to live were kind at first, but when they saw that he was different they became cold and uncaring toward him. He would have died if it wasn't for him. But now he had another chance. And in the past few months, this village gave him more than he ever hoped for. A brother, a sister, a guardian, and more importantly, a home where there was a family waiting for him. And now this home was being attacked. He wanted to do anything to help to protect the village, no matter how small his help may be. He then looked at the Kage booth and saw the barrier. Suddenly an idea hit him when he saw how the barrier was being sustained. "Yamato-sensei!" He called out to Yamato. "What is it, Ranmaru?" Yamato went to his level when Ranmaru ushered him to come close. Getting closer, Ranmaru whispered to Yamato, "Sensei, I think I can help taking down that barrier." Yamato backed off a bit and looked at Ranmaru surprised. He wanted to say that the new genin didn't have any idea what he was talking about, but his determined eyes told him otherwise. With a sigh, he looked at the barrier. Even till now, Umbu were failing to break the barrier, and Yamato could see that they weren't going to find any solution anytime soon. The decision was quite simple, but he just didn't want his student in such a hot spot. But he knew that there was no other choice. "Kurenai-san, can you take the kids to the safe house? I have to go somewhere with Ranmaru." Kurenai looked at him with a bit of confusion before nodding her head. With a bow of gratitude, Yamato picked Ranmaru up and dashed toward the Kage booth. It was a bit hard to get to the Kage booth as he had to avoid fighting. But the areas around the Kage booth were cleaned off of enemies, but still the Umbu had no luck in disabling the barrier. Yamato came down and immediately went to an Umbu whose mask was blank, there weren't even eye holes. But the way he was holding himself was demanding respect. "Commander, is there any success in breaking the barrier?" Yamato asked politely. The person in front turned to him, and just by his body gesture he gave the answer. He was the sole leader of the Umbu and all of its division. He didn't have any name, not even any code names. His title was his name, his identity. The only people who knew of his origin would be Hokage, and if the Hokage would tell anyone else. Yamato looked at Ranmaru and sighed. He really didn't want to do this. "I think my student can help to break the barrier." With Naruto, Yugao and Hinata were closing up on the Suna siblings. Naruto looked at Yugao, who had a conflicted look on her face as she asked, "How did you figure out that Gaara kid is a Jinchuriki?" "I am not sure how to put it," Naruto said as his face made a confused expression. "But I think I can sense his chakra signature, like how it was affecting the nature in a different manner. Also his chakra had a distinct familiarity with mine." Yugao just shook her head in understanding, but she was having hard time analyzing what Naruto said. In a way it sounded like Naruto was a natural sensor, but somehow she knew that there was more to it than that. "Yugao-san," the siblings stopped. Naruto and Yugao perked up hearing Hinata's words. "What's their position?" Yugao asked. "Temari and Kankuro stopped and have made a defensive line. Gaara is going forward, slowly, but his chakra is going haywire," Hinata explained. Yugao thought for a minute she could let Naruto and Hinata fight the elder Suna children while she could go after Gaara. But she didn't know if she could detain Gaara without killing him. She looked at Naruto and Hinata and sighed. She just hoped she was taking the right decision. "Naruto, Hinata, you two will go after Gaara. I will handle the other two," I will go in fast and create a distraction, and using that you two will keep pursuing. Don't stop because every second counts. And remember, if you can incapacitate him, it is good. But if it is not possible, go for the kill. Yugao relayed her order. Seeing Naruto to frown and Hinata to shudder, Yugao explained. If that kid let out the Biju, hundreds of our shinobi will die, maybe more. And if he does that, we will have to kill him anyway. All I am saying that stop him at all costs before he releases his Biju. Naruto and Hinata nodded back in understanding. Yugao smiled and looked at Hinata. Can you tell me if there are any other people around us? Hinata concentrated to extend her vision limit. There are no other enemies or any friendlies around 60 meters radius. Good to know. With that, Yugao went ahead of them, but not far. She didn't stop even for a second, but just made a small gesture with her hands before she dashed and charged toward the Suna siblings, catching them off guard. And that gave plenty of time to Naruto and Hinata to pass them without losing their speed. Shit! Kankuro saw the duo passing, and that slight break of concentration was all Yugao needed. But before she could strike down Kankuro, Temari threw some projectiles at her. Yugao dodged, but using her momentum, she made a wide swipe at the puppet near Kankuro, breaking a huge portion of it. Fuck! Instead of cursing, you stupid ass, concentrate on her or we will be losing our head. Temari gritted her teeth. Kankuro take a good look of their opponent. A female Umbu with long sharp object, it was not a good combo in any way. Kankuro gulped visibly. With Naruto and Hinata. When Hinata motioned, Naruto took out his sword and got ready. The moment they landed, they took a defensive stance, but what they saw in front of them made them to stop on their tracks involuntarily. Gaara's hand looked like that of a sand monster, and not just that, he also had a big tail which came out from the gourd. Speaking of the gourd, right now it looked as if it was a part of his body. But what was truly frightening was his face and expression. It was anything but human. So, you are finally here, Uzumaki! Gaara bellowed. You look like shit, man. Blank stares, that was what Naruto received from both Gaara and Hinata. For Hinata, she wondered if it was Naruto's talent to break any kind of tense situation with his words. Gaara narrowed his eyes, but when he saw Hinata, he gave a maniacal smile. Let's see if you can still talk big after I smash your friend over there. Immediately lightning started to come out from Naruto's body, and the short sword of his took a katana form. He narrowed his eyes and growled. Touch her, and I will have tanuki for dinner. Gaara smirked, seeing the aggressive look on Naruto as he laughed out loud. That's it, my brother, let the anger go. After all, we are nothing but monsters. We are the loveless ones, the despised ones. Naruto growled and dashed toward Gaara despite Hinata's acute protests. Gaara took a huge swing at Naruto, was in midair with his gigantic arm. Seeing the attack, Naruto rotated himself in the midair and slammed both of his swords into the huge claw-like hand, causing a small shockwave to occur. The shockwave pushed both of them back. Naruto created shadow clones the moment he touched the ground and told them to attack. Seeing the clones coming at him, Gaara threw projectiles made of sand from his tail. Those destroyed a good portion of clones, but not all of them. One particular clone got close to Gaara and he just tried to swat it away. But unfortunately for him, Naruto switched with that clone and once again slammed his sword on his arm. Again the shockwave occurred and the result was same. But it was at that moment that Gaara noticed that what was wrong. Yes, the shockwave pushed both of them back, but Naruto's strikes were damaging his arm rather intensively while Naruto wasn't taking any damage at all. Gaara growled at Naruto and jumped back from him. But before Naruto could follow him, Hinata came in front. Naruto wanted to tell her to move, but she then did the most unpredictable thing. She grabbed his cheeks and pulled them hard. Hinaha, what's wrong? Naruto tried to talk, but it was hard to do that with his cheeks being pulled like that, and it hurt like hell. Listen here, mister, we are here to fight together and strategically against him. And all I am seeing is you disregarding me like a nobody and swinging your sword like a stick while fighting him like 7 years old. Hinata said with a stoic face, like a Hyuga. This was the first time Naruto was seeing Hinata like this, and frankly it was scary. Sai. That's all Naruto could say while gulping visibly. So, we are going to fight him with cool head. No charging ahead like a toddler, understood? Naruto shook his head vigorously. Hinata let his cheeks go and both of them jumped away to dodge few sand bullets. They looked at Gaara to see that he transformed again, and now he looked like a mini tanuki monster. Naruto made a blank face and looked at Hinata. I blame this on But one frown look from Hinata and Naruto became quiet. So, what's the plan? Naruto asked Hinata when he landed close to her, all the while dodging the sand bullets. He tried to keep his head cool, but Gaara's continuous screaming of his name and taunts were really hard to ignore. You will fight him, but cautiously, and try to give me an opportunity to go in and use my 8 trigrams on him. I may need you to break his armor as well, because I don't think my attack will be able to penetrate the defense he has now. Hinata told her boyfriend, all the while keeping an eye out for Gaara. It's too risky. Naruto scowled immediately, because even he knew how dangerous it was to go close to Gaara the way he was now. My attacks are the only thing that can stop him without hurting him badly, either that or we have to strike him with lethal force. Hinata tried to reason with Naruto. Naruto knew Hinata was right, but still, the risk was too much. There were so many possibilities of her. I will be fine because I got you to protect me. Hinata spoke softly. Fine, but you are not going until I say it is okay. Naruto gave in at the end. With a smile, Hinata nodded. Uzumaki! Coming! With Kumo, Nindari cursed his luck. Their opponents were good, too good. No matter what he and his partner, number 3, were throwing at them, they were not slowing down, rather they were coming with more vigor. If they were any weaker, the Oto Nin would have killed them by now. But at least he was glad that his team made through this obstacle. If everything goes according to the plan, they should have reached the mercenary group by now. And from that point it was up to them. They were told before that for any reason if they would get separated, she would be the acting leader. Darui was good at using the storm release, and his black lightning, and number 3 was good at using his special weapon. It was a sword that can extend when used chakra on it, and can be used as a whip. The range is quite good, and the whip strikes can counter a lot of attacks. But their enemies were matching them blow to blow, maybe more than that. Yugo was the frontline attacker, who was destroying most of their jutsu through his piston fist or hammer fist. Kimimaro was following up, and in a way he was deadlier than his partner. If Kumo Nin thought that they have dodged all the attacks or was going to put Yugo down, Kimimaro would be there to rectify their mistakes. Darui was so deep in thought of how to kill the ones in front that he forgot one simple fact. That their opponents were from Oto, and currently they were invading the village the Kumo Nin were in. So either his partner noticed few Oto Nin jumping in from behind before it was late. The Oto Nin used various jutsu on them, all of which were missed, and from one good combo strike from the Kumo Nin, they were taken out. But they were separated because of this surprise attack, and just for a few seconds, they lost focus on their primary opponent. Kimimaro and Yugo lunged at number 3, who clearly didn't see them coming like this. Secret Lightning Art, Raging Snake. The sword number 3 was holding extended and attacked the duo in a whip-like manner. It was to throw them off and give enough time for the Kumo Nin to regroup. But it didn't work. Dance of the Clematis Vine. Kimimaro caught number 3's sword with his bone whip and completely immobilized him. And the next thing number 3 saw was Yugo in front of him with a more powerful and faster version of his piston fist. Piston Fist Style 1. His attack was so strong that it went through number 3's chest, killing him instantly. Darui cursed seeing the death of his partner, and he knew that if he didn't run fast or some miracle wouldn't occur, he would be next. And suddenly he felt like everything stopped, all the shouting and fighting, just for a few seconds. He looked up and saw the reason. There were few red flares. Then he looked at Oto Nin to see their face hardening, and he knew what it was. It was a retreat signal. Earlier at the stadium inside the barrier, after hearing the quick explanation from Jiraiya, who was still running with all his might from them, Tobirama knew who Naruto was. He was his direct descendant. As much as he wanted to learn more, he knew he had to do something before the situation would go worse. Listen here, Toad. Jiraiya looked at the second. I will tell you how to undo this jutsu, but you have to pay attention. I will try my best considering I got 2 legendary shinobi on my ass. Jiraiya replied sourly as he dodged few consecutive attacks from the first. Sorry for that. Hashirama chuckled weakly. Listen closely, there are few ways to stop this jutsu. The easiest would be killing the summoner. Seeing that it is not the best option right now, you can work on another one. And that is binding our bodies through fuin jutsu. It may take some time, but it is the best choice in this situation, I think. Tobirama explained, all the while trying to kill Jiraiya. I think I can. Jiraiya dodged yet another combo from the Senju brothers. Do that. Okay, hear how the seal goes. In the meantime, Orochimaru was cursing his luck. The battle was supposed to be easy because he thought it would be 3 against 1. But the fact that Jiraiya was there ruined it all. He was a lot of things, but he wasn't stupid. He knew that Jiraiya might cancel his jutsu as he couldn't put the talisman on the 2 Hokage. So his plan was to rush toward the other battle and strike down Jiraiya when he was less suspecting it. But his teacher was making it damn difficult. Orochimaru thought that Hiruzen would talk and try to correct his path, like last time. And he would fight defensively. But no, Hiruzen didn't do either. When the Orochimaru ordered the 2 Hokage to go after Jiraiya, Hiruzen immediately lunged at him, and from the very first moment, he summoned Enma, the Monkey King, and went at him with full force. Orochimaru knew he was strong, but going all out against his teacher, he needed assurance, hence the impure world resurrection. But with that gone and the fact that he can't summon his snakes because of where they were fighting, made him quite vulnerable. Yes, he had aggressive jutsu and lots of kenjutsu, but lots of them required lots of time and chakra. And against the god of shinobi, those flaws would be lethal. But the worst part was how Hiruzen and Enma were switching between themselves to give Hiruzen enough time to catch his breath and resume his attacks. It can't get any worse than this, Orochimaru grumbled. And then the barrier went down. Orochimaru just blinked when he saw that. Are you shitting me? Outside the barrier. Moments earlier, their first thought was to blow off the pillars to destroy the platform. But the question rose that how would the barrier react? There was a high probability that the whole barrier might come down to the people inside, which would endanger the Hokage. So the Anbu had to put that idea aside. But now, are you sure, Ranmaru? Yamato asked again. As appealing as it was, to him the idea was still risky. Yes, I can. And I know if something happens, you will come for me. There was no hesitation in the boy's tone, and that made it harder. Because Yamato knew that in the shinobi world nothing would go the way they want, all the time. With a reluctant nod, Yamato picked Ranmaru up and took off. The rest of the Anbu took position to rush in. Yamato placed Ranmaru to one corner of the barrier, and inside the violet barrier there was one person who looked at them with arrogance. With a deep, harsh breath, Yamato jumped off and left Ranmaru. Ranmaru smiled when he saw the person in front looked at him intently. The little genin went through a lot of hand seals before whispering something to himself, and then he shouted, "Demonic illusion, tree binding death." Jirobo didn't think much when he saw the jonin dropping the little kid in front of him. When Anbu were helpless against their barrier, what can a child do? Then he saw the space around him getting distorted slightly. He immediately knew that he was under genjutsu. He then saw trees slowly growing and restricting his movement. He even started to feel pain, and then the main attack came. Slowly the tree grew, completely immobilizing him. But he didn't let go off the barrier. But when he started to see the heinous figures coming out from the tree, he had enough. With a jolt he released chakra burst, immediately dispelling the illusion. When he was out of the genjutsu, he saw the scenery changed a bit. He cursed himself, thinking he should have dispelled it sooner, because now he had no idea how much time had passed. He was so into his thought that he didn't saw Ranmaru smirking and whispering to himself, "Activate." It was that moment that Jirobo saw Orochimaru coming toward him and shouted, "Drop the barrier, the old monkey is dead." With a smile, Jirobo dropped the barrier, and then all hell broke loose. Ranmaru smiled, seeing that his tactic worked. He used his first genjutsu, Demonic Illusion, Tree Binding Death, to rile up Jirobo. It was done in a way so that he focused on that particular genjutsu so that he wouldn't see him doing a few others on him. The second genjutsu, Mist of Space, was meant to give him a disoriented view of time. In a way, it would look to him as if a lot of time had passed. It is easy to notice after some careful observation, but before Jirobo could do that, Ranmaru activated his third genjutsu. It was a simple illusion of showing him that Orochimaru was done with his objective. And the reason it was more effective because he asked the Anbu and Yamato about how Orochimaru behaved around Hiruzen. This consecutive genjutsu was the style Kurenai taught him, and it was called layer-style genjutsu. It was hard to pull off, but it was easy for him because of his eyes and the fact that his opponent was standing still. The moment the barrier was down, all the Anbu rushed inside, few going after the sound for. Orochimaru knew that it was over the moment he saw the barrier was dropped. So he shouted, "Use everything to drop the building!" Both the resurrected Hokage, Jiraiya, wasn't fast enough to complete the seal, and the Sound Four used their destructive jutsu on the building. Meanwhile, when Jirobo understood what truly happened, he saw red. He dashed toward Ranmaru but was intercepted by Yamato. Yamato looked back and shouted, "Ranmaru, get away!" With a nod, Ranmaru tried to get away but everything went downhill from there. Because the whole building exploded. Ranmaru didn't expect that, so he was thrown off from the building. Yamato yelled when he saw him falling down and wanted to go after him, but Jirobo caught him and he was in his curse mark, first level. The last thing Jirobo would remember was looking at the eyes of a ghost. There was no sound, so hand seals, no movements. Lots of hardened wooden branches came out from Jirobo's back, and when he let go, Yamato just put his index and middle finger together and aimed at his open mouth. Long but thin branch shot out from there, which entered Jirobo's mouth and came out from the back, effectively ending his life. As for Ranmaru, he tried to land or touch or hold on to anything, but his chakra control wasn't that strong. He was scared, but still he didn't lose his cool. He went for his last option. With all his effort, he put all of his chakra in his feet and tried to land. His idea was to land, and then using that momentum, he would jump away. But the moment his feet touched the wall of the building, it caved in, and his legs got caught in it. He slid all the way to the ground, rather harshly. He was losing consciousness fast. But he knew he couldn't give up. When he heard noises, he looked up to see the broken walls falling down. He tried to get away, but he couldn't. He looked down to see that both of his legs was under huge wreckage. Seeing that he wasn't getting out, his body relaxed, accepting his demised fate. And with that, his consciousness started to slip off. Before becoming unconscious, the last thing he saw was the blazing walls coming closer and heard the distinct shouting of his sensei. With a choked sob, he closed his eyes. With Naruto, both had their strengths and weaknesses. Naruto had the elemental advantages. He was faster and had varieties of techniques. He was more level-headed than the current Gaara. Gaara, on the other hand, kept regenerating his sand armor. And his defense was stronger. If Naruto wanted, he could have taken down Gaara with sheer power, but he was scared that it might cause another transformation. So that was why he was trying to give an opening for Hinata to knock out Gaara. Now he knew what Yamato meant when he said that sometimes capturing a target was much harder than killing one. Seeing that he regenerated again, Naruto got pissed. He looked at Hinata and gave a subtle sigh. It was or never. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. Hundreds of his clone came into existence, and all of them immediately dashed toward Gaara. Gaara tried to swat or strike away, but they just kept coming. Hundreds of slight lighting-enhanced fists descended upon him, and there was no countering back. Hinata knew that her time was coming, so she came forward, but then it got worse. But luck wasn't on their side. It was as if Gaara exploded and tons of sands came out, annihilating the clone army. Naruto immediately dashed to Hinata. Picking her up, he ran to the other side. He looked back to see that the ground cracked open and sand started to come out, which combined with Gaara's own, started to make a humongous shape. "Naruto, get away from there, his tailed beast is coming out." Hearing Reiju's concerned voice, Naruto looked forward and started to think hard. He couldn't leave, because if he did, then the village was next. I am going for that. That isn't foolproofed yet. But that's the only shot we got. Reiju just sighed before warning. Be extra careful. I will. Naruto then looked at Hinata and spoke softly. Hinata, I want you to listen to me. I am not leaving, and there is nothing you can do about it. Naruto just looked blankly at his girlfriend, who was glaring at him. She tightened her hold on Naruto to emphasize her point. Their stare-down continued, but it got broken when the ground shook. Okay, fine. Then I need you to help me with something. Naruto gave in. Naruto put down Hinata and then made 10 clones. I want you to protect all of these clones. Seeing Hinata's questioning face, he smiled. I will tell you everything later, but for now just trust me. Hinata softened up. You know I always will. Naruto smiled hearing that. He kissed Hinata softly and then ran back at Gaara. He didn't look back to see the concerned face of his girlfriend. By the time Naruto reached, the Biju had already taken its full form. Although Gaara was still in control, Naruto knew he wouldn't be for long. But he still needed some time to complete that. Time to bring out that. Naruto took out his gloves. He bit his thumb to draw out the blood, and with that he touched the palm of both his hands. Instantly 2 scrolls came out. He smirked at the Sand Tanuki, who turned to look at him. He activated the scrolls. They were his last resort against Gaara if the fight in the stadium would have taken a darker turn. The scrolls didn't contain any weapons or water, they only contained Shadow clones, powered-up explosive shadow clones. And there were total 200 of them. They all jumped and tried to grab hold of any part of huge sand monster. Gaara snorted as he commanded the huge beast to batter them away. But then one clone exploded, and then the chain reaction began. The amounts of explosions occurred in less than 10 seconds was enough to take down 1/10 of Konoha. But all of them in such a short space were much more effective. The aftermath of it was so strong that it could felt all the way from Konoha. Naruto flew away from his destination, but he managed to create few shadow clones to help him in landing. Did that work? Uzumaki! I guess so. Naruto looked warily at the sand monster in front of him, who started to regenerate back, and it was faster than before. But what truly made him worried was when he saw Gaara's tiny form, coming out from the forehead. To think that you'd push me this far, Uzumaki! Gaara shouted. I will let you have the honor to fight the real monster. With that he clapped his hand and slowly drifted to sleep. Naruto knew it was bad and he didn't wait. He gave the signal and started to go through hand signals. Naruto finished with hand seals and his body started to release a large amount of elemental chakra, and then he waited. Not a second later, Naruto's body was overwhelmed by natural energy. His hair became spikier. Lightning started to emit from his body and strong winds started to blow around him as well. But the most noticeable part would be his eyes and his whiskers. His whiskers were glowing blue as if they were electrified, whereas looking at his irises would be like looking at the center of a maelstrom from top view. The idea hit them when they started training in Senjutsu. Naruto can learn and train in the arts of Senjutsu, but his body was still not mature enough to handle natural chakra. The reason for it was that his chakra coil would give in before it could reach the full potential of the natural chakra. The first problem was that he couldn't gather natural energy quickly and as much as he needed to. The second was that if he somehow would force to absorb natural chakra, his body wouldn't be able to hold and would violently release the natural chakra. And it was harmful to his body. But Naruto, being the unpredictable he is, still found a way to use his weaknesses. The idea was that he would make few clones who would gather the natural chakra as much as they could and then would dispel themselves at the same time. In that way, he would gain the natural chakra fast and to the fullest. And as for how to avoid the second problem, he just needed to use a jutsu that would drain all the chakra fast before his body would start to release it back to the nature. And he had the perfect jutsu for it. Yahoo! I am finally free! Maelstrom release, Hydra's rampage. Shikaku's musing stopped when he felt the unnatural pressure. He looked to his side to see 9 dangerous-looking snakes was hissing and coming toward him at a dangerous speed. He narrowed his eyes and took a deep breath in. Wind release, drilling air bullet. The moment the air came out his mouth, the 9 snakes separated. One took the bullet, but in a way that it didn't make any huge explosion at their collision. And before Shikaku knew it, the remaining 8 snakes were already on him, drilling through his body like it was nothing. He wanted to jump away, but his legs were damaged. He tried to use another of his air bullet, but his body wasn't listening. He screamed in anger, and then his eyes fell onto the user of the jutsu that caused his demise. You will pay for what you did, insolent brat! Shikaku shouted and raised his arm as much as he could. Sand started to form around Naruto, but to his surprise, Naruto jumped. And now he was above Shikaku. The reason Naruto could jump so high was because of his unique sage chakra. He couldn't fly yet, but he could still jump high. And to Shikaku's horror, Naruto let go of the orb that was controlling and holding the snakes and descended. He roared once more and tried to throw sand shuriken as many as he could with his battered body. But Naruto kept using shadow clones creatively to dodge and maneuver himself in the air. The sand beast watched helplessly as Naruto came down and punched Gaara, shouting, Wake the hell up! With Hinata. Hinata wanted to go with Naruto but knew that Naruto wouldn't have asked her to watch his clones if there were no special meaning behind it. She watched with her Byakugan that Naruto opened his scroll and then the army of clones came out. She saw that those clones weren't normal and knew that what was coming. She warned the clones and got in front of them. She performed her protecting 8 trigrams to stop the debris from coming near the clones. And just a few moments later, there was a small different kind of explosion. Immediately all the clones who were meditating opened their eyes. She could see, feel, the difference, and the most awestruck thing were their eyes. It was enchanting and at the same time endangering, but before she could comment on it, all of them disappeared at the same time. Then she went forward to see what was happening, and she saw it all. The moment Naruto punched Gaara and woke him up, the body of the sand beast completely broke down. And with it, those two fell down as well, but all the sand softened up their fall greatly. Hinata dashed toward them, but when she saw two more chakra signatures approaching her destination, she sped up. She reached before the other two to see Naruto smiling at the fallen Suna Jinchuriki. You should start by those two. No sooner he had said that, Gaara's siblings came and stood in front of him protectively. Hinata also took a stance, but Naruto shook his head. Hinata stepped back but didn't drop her guard. They understood the underlying meaning and nodded gratefully. They picked up Gaara, but before leaving Temari looked at them. The one who came with you is unharmed, but because of the blast we were able to get away. She would be coming here soon. Hinata released a breath of relief when she saw Yugao coming toward them. She could see that the Umbu was unharmed. Winded, yes, but unharmed. She also heard the siren. And she knew what that siren was, for the fight was finally over. Chapter 33, Aftermath. Darui was in front, and rest of his team members were behind him. All of them were kneeling. So, can you tell me why not only you were unable to complete your mission but also lost a member? Reikage wasn't happy, not one bit. Even though you had the perfect chance? Eisama, if I may? Darui spoke up. Go on, but your report better be good. Reikage narrowed his eyes. When the invasion began, we started our pursuit. But it seemed Orochimaru had an idea of what our plan was. He sent 2 strong shinobi to stop us. We created an opening and the Seas team left using that chance. As for us, we were equally matched, but few other Otonins suddenly jumped and distracted us. Using that chance, our opponents went for number 3. I would have been killed as well if it wasn't for the retreat signal. Darui explained. At least you were able to recover his weapon. Reikage then looked the 3 shinobi behind Darui. Then what's the reason for their failure? According to their report, they stopped before even reaching their destination. Because he sensed that all of them were dead, and few Konoha Umbu were there, ready and armed. Our guess is that Konoha Umbu found them while patrolling and killed them, seeing that they were hostile. They still tried to complete their mission just by themselves, but Ichibi was released and they had to back off. Darui covered for his teammates. The Ichibi was defeated, right? Why didn't they go back in after that? Reikage asked. His anger was lessened a bit. Because it was around that time the retreat signal was given. Darui replied. I see. Reikage looked at the reports in front of him. Instead of reading it, he would always hear directly from the person if it was an important mission. He looked at Darui. You stay. Rest of you leave. See, Yujito and D didn't have to be told twice. After they left, Reikage looked at Darui. Stand, I want to hear your opinion on the kid. When Darui stood up, Reikage relaxed a bit on his chair. So, how strong was he? Darui replied immediately. He was strong, and was very good at using his bloodline. I knew Darui for so long, and for that he saw the subtle signs of Darui being uncomfortable, as if he was holding back something. I leaned on his desk and looked at Darui keenly. Is there something else? Darui took a deep breath before answering. He can use storm release through his enchanted swords. He can also use the infamous Rasengan. And according to C, he was the one who stopped Ichibi. Hearing all that, Reikage was intrigued. Really now? So how did he defeat the Biju? With one high-level S-rank storm release jutsu. The answer made A to grin. I see. He then looked again at the reports. Darui, I want you to forge papers and do whatever else is necessary to change number 3's identity. Make him someone who is from a well-known noble clan and someone who has a high standing in our village. Darui was confused at first, but then it hit him. He bowed to Reikage and replied, As you wish. In Konoha, Naruto had a blank face. He didn't know what to feel or what to do. A small touch made him look to his side to see Haku. She was smiling sadly at him, but her eyes were red. It made him understood that what he heard and was seeing was real. He looked back again, and this time tears started to fall from his eyes. On the other side of the window, Ranmaru was sleeping. He was in ICU. His condition wasn't good, so they weren't allowed to go inside. They couldn't protest after seeing his state. Yamato told them what happened, about how he was able to make it in time before the falling walls could crush him. But it was still too late. Ranmaru's legs were damaged badly, and because of the shock he went into a coma. After explaining, Yamato left, saying how he had failed being Ranmaru's sensei. He will be fine, Haku said in a soft voice. Remember Lee, he was in the same condition. Naruto tightened his fist, his gesture hardened. He looked at Haku, tears still falling, but he had a determined face. I am not going to wait for a miracle, Hakone. I am going to do whatever I can to help him, even if it means going to other villages to find the best medic and drag that person all the way to here. You don't have to go to other villages for that. Hearing that, Naruto and Haku looked to the newcomer. It was Hinata. She had flowers in her hand. Because the best medic is from Konoha Hokage's room. How are you feeling, sensei? Jiraiya asked in a concerned voice. I wish I could say that I am feeling good, but the fight against him really took its toll. Hiruzen replied. Are you kidding me? You whopped Orochimaru's ass like there was no tomorrow. Jiraiya laughed. You and I both know that if you weren't there the outcome would be very different. Hiruzen sighed. But what really angers me is that we were so close to catching Orochimaru. Yeah, if only he didn't use the first and the second to block our paths. Jiraiya groaned. What happened after the barrier went down was they, along with quite a few strong Anbu, gave chase to Orochimaru and in the process were able to take down one more of the Sound Four. Orochimaru knew that he might not get away unharmed, so he used the Kage to block his pursuers. He also summoned one of his strongest snakes. It wasn't easy to defeat Three-Headed Snake along with two immortal Hokage. When they finally defeated their opponents, Orochimaru was long gone. Yes, but... Hiruzen was interrupted as Naruto opened the door roughly. All the Anbu hidden in his room tensed up as Naruto had sparks going around his body. Naruto looked back to see the angry and scared secretary and snarled. I told you that I want to talk to the old man, so piss off. Hiruzen immediately got the picture. With subtle sigh, he ordered the Anbu to relax and secretary to go back. Naruto, what brings you here? Hiruzen smiled. It had been really long since Naruto came to talk to him alone. Do you know where Tsunade is? Naruto asked directly. Why do you want to know about her, brat? Jiraiya asked. Naruto looked at the second person in the office and scowled. He looked at Hiruzen again and replied. She can heal Ranmaru, can't she? So I want to know where she is. Hiruzen and Jiraiya both noticed Naruto's behavior toward the Toad Sage. And with the fact that he used Rasengan on the arena, they wanted to confirm something. Hiruzen asked calmly as he pointed at Jiraiya. Naruto, do you know who this is? Yeah, Jiraiya, the perverted Sannin and Mai. Naruto stopped immediately, but from his tone both Hiruzen and Jiraiya knew what he was going to tell. Naruto, why don't you take a seat? Naruto got defensive hearing the third. But before he could take any more rash actions, his savior came. Looks like I got a savior skin once again, brat. Reiju chuckled. Reiju-san. Naruto panicked slightly. Don't worry, listen to what I say. I knew this was coming sooner or later anyway. Reiju's voice helped Naruto to relax. Now knowing that his friendly tenant was backing him, Naruto calmed down and did what Hiruzen said. Naruto, how did you learn to use Rasengan? Hiruzen said in a very gentle manner. My dad taught me that. There was a pin-drop silence. Jiraiya and Hiruzen looked at Naruto with mouths open as the said genin had a blank look. Could you repeat that, brat? Naruto looked at Jiraiya annoyingly. My father, Minato Namikaze, the fourth Hokage, the one who sealed the Kyuubi inside me, taught me how to use Rasengan. It took few seconds for both Jiraiya and Hiruzen to finally understand what Naruto said. But instead of rushing him, they decided to approach this in a more tactful manner. So once again Hiruzen asked softly, Naruto, how did you know about him? Naruto paused for some time before answering. According to him, he sealed some part of his chakra inside the seal as a failsafe. But when I wore the mask, it interfered with the seal and forced his chakra to get out. There I met him and we... Naruto stopped for a second before continuing. Talked. Then it hit Hiruzen as he remembered why Naruto asked about his parents the moment he woke up. I am sorry, Naruto. The third spoke sadly. I know I didn't try hard enough, but you have to understand. Understand what? I had the right to know. Naruto narrowed his eyes. The world wouldn't have ended if you would have told me who my parents were. I know they have enemies, but if you had told me properly, I would have kept it a secret. Heck, at least you could have told me about my mother. He couldn't take the risk. Jiraiya defended his sensei. Naruto looked at Jiraiya. He closed his eyes and took a deep breath, and anyone could see that he did that to calm down. Then the conversation is over. When he saw that both Jiraiya and Hiruzen wanted to speak up, he continued. Because he didn't talk to me as a Hokage, rather he talked to me as my father. He told me things that I needed to know. Now why would I want to tell you about those? Hiruzen and Jiraiya exchanged looks and knew that they couldn't force anything out of Naruto right now. They also knew that Naruto wasn't telling them the whole truth but decided not to voice that. Suddenly an idea hit Jiraiya. Brat, you are looking for Tsunade to heal your teammate, right? I can help you with that if you listen to 2 requests of mine. Jiraiya spoke up. Hiruzen didn't say anything as he wanted to see where this was going. What are your requests? Naruto asked. His voice was a bit guarded. Have a simple spar with me and after that let me check your seal. Jiraiya replied back sincerely. Naruto thought for a few seconds before answering. Fine, you got a deal, but if you are not going to keep your words, you are going to regret that. Jiraiya laughed out loud hearing that. Don't worry, brat, I won't do that. Few days later. For the past couple of days, everyone was busy because of the funeral held for those who had died in the battle. The village was slowly recovering, but the wound would take longer time to heal. Everyone was busy reconstructing or helping in any way for the village. But for Naruto, it was a different case. Naruto and Jiraiya was in training ground 15, his team's training area. So, brat, show me what you got. Jiraiya said as he took a fighting stance. Of course he had no intention to go all out, rather he had a different motive for this fight. After that show me your seal and then we will go to look for Haim. Jiraiya immediately knew that maybe he ought to take this a bit more seriously. Because the moment he said that, Naruto already took out his weapons and dense sparks started to dance around him. Oh, I will show you what I got. You can bet your perverted ass on that. And then Naruto charged without waiting for any signal. Multi-Shadow Clone Jutsu. Hundreds of clone came out and charged at Jiraiya, who already finished going through his hand seals. Needle Hell. Jiraiya extended his hair around his body and shot a barrage of hardened hair needles to every direction, effectively stopping the rampage of Naruto's clones. He immediately jumped away because not a moment later quite few explosive clones smashed themselves to where he was and detonated. Twin Moon Storm Style, Crescent Moon. Fire Release, Big Flame Bullet. Jiraiya used his jutsu on the side in such a way that it redirected Naruto's Storm Release jutsu. He wasn't surprised at all when he saw Naruto coming at him immediately. Naruto made few clones and each of those clones took 2 kunai at each hand and surrounded Jiraiya. The Toad Sage kicked the first clone coming at him, and was surprised to see it withstanding his attack. And using his momentary loss of concentration, everyone lunged at him. But he wasn't Sannin for no reason. Wild Lion's main jutsu. Jiraiya's hair grew longer once more, but instead of sharp needle it acted like a steel whip, binding all of the clones and destroying them. Naruto jumped to back off just to create few more clones, and got back in. Jiraiya immediately cancelled his jutsu and destroyed Naruto's new clones by throwing kunai at them with great accuracy. And just like he guessed, those were explosive clones. But he was surprised to see Naruto still coming at him despite that, and saw how Naruto was using lightning to increase his speed and flexibility. Jiraiya took out his stone swords and confronted the enraged Naruto. But when their swords clashed, he thought that maybe it wasn't such a good idea to have a stone sword clashing against a lightning sword. I am sorry, Naruto. Naruto's eyes widened and his body tensed. I am sorry that I wasn't there for you. Naruto's chakra spiked and got to a different level. His pupils slitted and his body tensed more. Not just that, but lightning started to come out from his body, which pushed Jiraiya away. You do not get to tell me that! Naruto roared. He charged, and while on the way to Jiraiya he used Shadow Clone using hand seals through only one hand. Jiraiya used one sword to block real Naruto while other sword to destroy his clones. You were supposed to be my godfather! Jiraiya sensed another chakra spike behind Naruto, and was surprised to one clone was gathering chakra while going through some hand seals. Naruto jumped back and got beside the clone, and immediately the clone shouted, Storm Release, Laser Circus! And the moment the lightning energy beam started to come out from the orb, Naruto destroyed the clone with a strong punch and took control of the orb with the same hand immediately. Ingenious, Jiraiya thought as he was dodging the beams. He tried to remember if he knew anyone who could use shadow clones so efficiently, and with so many variations. It was as if Naruto alone was one-man army. When the jutsu stopped, Naruto was a bit low on breath. Throwing consecutive high-ranked jutsu and strong attacks started to take a bit toll on his body, but he didn't care about that. If you are not capable of doing your goddamn job, why the fuck did you take it? Naruto's body was shaking. Although he was low on breath, his powers didn't show any sign of going down. Give me one chance to fix this. Jiraiya pleaded in a soft voice. You got nothing to fix. Naruto let go of his swords and concentrated on his lightning that was coming out from his body and pointed that power to his hand. From elbow down the whole arm was covered with thick chakra, but when he added water there his arm wasn't visible anymore. Storm release, divine fist. And he did all that while running toward Jiraiya. Jiraiya was stunned to see such jutsu. He never thought that he could see another seal-less jutsu similar to Rasengan. He was so out of it that it was too late. Naruto was close and he didn't have time to dodge properly. So on pure reflex, he created a Rasengan and slammed it against Naruto's jutsu. The two jutsu battled for dominance for a few seconds and then with a huge shockwave it exploded. Because of the shockwave both Jiraiya and Naruto was thrown away, and they were lucky because if it wasn't for the shockwave they would have been hurt badly by the explosion. Jiraiya stood up and was surprised to see his arm still shaking. He immediately rushed to Naruto and saw that his arm was injured, not badly though. Naruto. Save it, I sparred just like you wanted. Now about the second part, you want to check the seal now? Naruto said in a flat voice. After we go and check that hand of yours then. Jiraiya replied. Naruto didn't look at him as he headed toward the hospital, at evening. So what do you think? The kid truly hates my guts, sensei. All the time in the fight he was coming at me with lethal force. Jiraiya sighed. That is what you wanted, right? For him to let out all his suppressed anger toward you through that spar. Hiruzen replied softly. Yes, I am glad to see that he is not angry anymore, but I don't think he will be forgiving any of us anytime soon. Jiraiya said sorrowfully. Give him some time, and whatever he decides I am pretty sure he will follow his heart. Hiruzen smiled and then he looked at Jiraiya a bit concerned. How is the seal? Nothing is wrong with it, although it has another strong layer over it which I couldn't decipher, but give me some time on it. But you got nothing to worry about for now. Jiraiya replied back and then he looked at his sensei right in the eye. Now about you. Are you sure about this? This is quite a big decision and I am not sure if Tsunade will agree to it. I am not getting any younger, Jiraiya. I wasn't even supposed to be in this position for so long. I think it is the perfect time to step down. Hiruzen replied back warmly and then he grinned. Besides, I am better suited to be an advisor than a Kage right now. Jiraiya shook his head, but at the end he smiled. If that is what you wish, sensei. Next day. You know, brat, it was supposed to be just you and me. Jiraiya said flatly. When and who said that? Naruto quirked his eyebrow. And it's not like I am taking my whole friend circle, just one person who is good at tracking. Jiraiya looked at the shy Hyuga and sighed. What about her own team? Kurenai-sensei gave the okay. What about her clan? They are fine with it. Jiraiya wanted to groan but held it to himself. He wanted some alone time with Naruto to make up to him. He also wanted Naruto to sign the Toad contract. But guess he would have to improvise his tactics now, although in a way, Jiraiya thought he could learn more about Naruto from his friend seeing he wouldn't tell him. Alright kids, let's get ready. It will take some time before we can reach our destination. With Haku. Naruto actually came to Haku first, and told her about his newest mission. He wanted her to come but Haku decided against it, telling him that she was needed in the village, and it was not just for Ranmaru. She was the one who suggested taking Hinata seeing she was better suited for tracking than her. Right now Haku was heading toward a specific place. When she reached there, she smiled when she saw who was sitting there. She took a seat beside him and took out a lunchbox. You know, if anyone sees me bringing you food every day, they are going to have a misunderstanding, Haku said in a light tone. I told you not to bother yourself with me. Sasuke replied back calmly. You're beating yourself for something that is not your fault. Haku sighed as she opened the lunchbox. I butchered those people back there, even the allies and the innocent. It makes me feel like I am the same as him, Sasuke said as he closed his eyes. But you are not. And if you didn't kill the enemies then they would have come for the rest of the people in the hospital. Haku smiled sadly. But I didn't have that intention. I didn't saw Oto or Sunanin. All I saw was him, taunting me, belittling me, all the while massacring everyone. Sasuke opened his eyes, they were full of regret. I want to kill him but I don't want to be like him. Haku sighed. She put the food on the side as she stood up and went in front of Sasuke. She gently held his face and made him to look at her. You regret what you did back there, and that is enough proof that you are not him. You are your own person. The jutsu that you developed to defeat him, the one you cannot control, and the one which killed all those people back there. In the end, it is just a mindless jutsu created by you. You can either drop it or hone it. But one thing I can tell is that don't run away from what happened, Sasuke. Haku got up. She took the food and put it beside Sasuke. Because if you run away, at the end you will be the one to suffer. With that, Haku started to leave, but she stopped and looked back. You know where to find me, if you need any help. What they didn't know that all the while when they were talking, two cloaked figure was approaching toward Konoha. Chapter 34, Returning with Tsunade. What do you mean you don't like toads? Jiraiya asked with wide eyes, to him it as if Naruto was talking blasphemy. Toads are great, I admit, but it is just that they are not. Naruto made a sheepish face before continuing. Cool, you know, like wolves or… Naruto paused for a second before adding. Like foxes. Seeing Jiraiya narrowing his eyes, Naruto put up his hands in a defensive manner. I am not being controlled or influenced by that furball, if that is what you are thinking. But you gotta admit, he looks really cool and awesome. Naruto, you do know what the Kyuubi did 13 years ago, right? Jiraiya asked with a sign. Naruto looked down, his shoulders shook slightly as he remembered what his father said about that fateful day, about how he lost everything. You and I both know who is truly at fault. Jiraiya was surprised, but someone was more surprised than him. Inside Naruto's mind the fox moved a bit. He didn't want to open his eyes because he knew he was going to see the grinning face of his unwelcome neighbor. Jiraiya's eyes softened, but he grinned when he saw the Hyuga coming closer and putting her hand at Naruto's shoulder, making him to calm down. So, we didn't get to know each other. Jiraiya smirked at girl. I am pretty sure you know who I am, the gallant Toad Sage and the best of the three Sannin. Jiraiya made an exaggerated pose as he said that. Hinata smiled as she bowed. Yes, I know about you, Jiraiya-sama. My name is Hinata Hyuga, the heiress of Hyuga clan. Naruto puffed out his chest as he boasted. And my awesome girlfriend. Hinata blushed and wondered if she could make Naruto understand that she didn't like to be in the spotlight. And seeing the glint in the Toad Sage's eyes, she knew this journey would be anything but comfortable. You got quite the catch, Naruto. Jiraiya's grin widened. So how did you manage to bag such a beauty? Naruto's blushed but grinned at the same time. Hinata didn't like where this was going, so she tried to deviate their conversation. So where do we find Tsunade-sama? But before Naruto could fall for his girlfriend's trap, Jiraiya intervened. I can confirm from my informant when we reach the next town. But before that, we were talking about something else. All Hinata could do was to blush as Naruto started to tell the stories about them. In Konoha, Haku was dashing toward the Konoha gate, but she took a different route. Earlier she heard from Yamato that Kakashi was hospitalized. She was surprised to know that someone was able to take down the infamous copycat Kakashi, in his home village nonetheless. But when she heard just who was it that took him down, she knew that she had to find a certain Uchiha. She finally found her target. Sasuke! The said Uchiha didn't even look back because he knew who was calling him. He didn't slow down either. He finally showed himself. Yes, but you gotta calm down. The killer of my whole clan has finally come out, and you are asking me to calm down? Yamato-sensei is creating a party and will be in pursuit shortly. Sasuke didn't let Haku finish as he snarled. I am not taking any chances, and if you are here to stop me. This time Haku didn't let him finish as she threw few needles in front of him, effectively stopping him. Sasuke took a fighting stance but was surprised when Haku just went past him and stood a bit front. She looked at the direct where Sasuke was heading and then back at him. Your brother is after Naruto, so I am not taking any chances either. I am coming with you. Sasuke nodded, but before he could resume, Haku put up her hand. And if I see that because of your anger I may lose my family, I will calm you down by hitting you where it hurts the most. Sasuke looked at her with a raised eyebrow. Shaking his head, he restarted his chase, Haku following him close behind. With Naruto and Hinata, that perverted ass, he left just like that to get that chick. Naruto was fuming. They reached the village. There was no problem there, but before entering their hotel, a beautiful woman gave some suggestive signs to Jiraiya, who didn't wait a minute to chase after her, leaving the two genin alone. Well, we can use this time to train ourselves, Hinata said optimistically. Naruto looked at Hinata and then chuckled. You really are something. And before Hinata could comment on that, Naruto hugged her and kissed her lightly. Hinata just blushed and smiled back. So, what do you have in mind? And then there was a knock in the door. Naruto was seriously pissed. It was as if the whole universe was against him when he would have some good alone time with Hinata. Naruto stormed toward the door and opened it to see two shady guys, with fully cloaked and big hat. Naruto Uzumaki, I would like you to come with us. And I would like to wear the Hokage's hat, but the world doesn't go like the way we want, now does it? So piss off! And then he slammed the door on their face. He just took 2 steps and then their words sank in, and he remembered the face of one of them. After dealing with 2 misswordsmen, he looked up all of them in case if he had to clash against one of them, and he was glad that he did that. Outside, the 2 S-rank shinobi just stood there and looked at the door. They were replaying back what happened in the last few seconds. Itachi, did that brat just… Yes. Just checking. With a chuckle, Kisame kicked the door open and entered with a wide, toothy smile. Brat, you got… And the room exploded. Itachi, who was behind, ran away from the door to avoid getting caught from the blast. It was thanks to his Sharingan. He stopped and waited for a few seconds to see if Naruto had any more surprises. But he sighed when he heard the sound of Kisame's laughter and wall breaking. He wanted to follow but stopped. Taking a deep breath, he turned around. Hello, Sasuke. Sasuke growled back and charged without waiting for his partner. Itachi closed his eyes and then opened back again. This time his eyes had no emotion. When Sasuke got close, he grabbed both of his hand, pulled him to one side, making Sasuke to lose his balance, and then kneed him. Sasuke coughed harshly, but the next attack came immediately. Itachi grabbed Sasuke's head and then smashed it to the wall beside them. And immediately he picked him up. You didn't learn, did you? Your hate is nothing but a child's whining. Itachi's eyes started to change, but immediately it changed back to normal, and he let go of Sasuke. It was to avoid the needles that came to him with deadly precision. Ninja art, hidden miss jutsu. Itachi looked around but was surprised when he stopped feeling his brother's presence. A distraction, clever. Sasuke was disoriented, but when his head became clear, he moved roughly and pushed away Haku, who was taking him to safety. Sasuke looked at where they came from, and his anger spiked. He was still nowhere near him, he was still so far. He turned to that direction but had to stop when Haku grabbed his collar. Let go of… He couldn't finish as the sharp pain in his cheeks interrupted him. He was stunned, but before his rage could come back with vengeance, Haku's forehead touched his. Please, if you lose, I will lose my family. Let me help you. Sasuke's rage couldn't surface, although a bit of anger came back when Itachi landed in front of them. So, now you started to hide behind girls? Sasuke flinched, but before he could retort, Haku spoke up. If you fall for that, then you are worse than Naruto. Sasuke thought for a moment, and then calmed down. Because of the high collar, the 2 genin couldn't see Itachi's slight grin. Sasuke closed his eyes and opened them again. His Sharingan was blazing with 3 tomo, a full Sharingan. With determined look, Sasuke stepped forward. I need you to distract him, but don't let him come near you or let him to look directly to your eyes. His eyes are dangerous. Sasuke warned as he wore his gloves. I know. Trust me, you don't. Sasuke dashed toward his brother. Itachi's smirk turned into frown, but before he could catch Sasuke, he jumped back in surprise. Sasuke made a swipe motion and Itachi had to duck to dodge the wire. It was so thin that it was hardly noticeable. And he would have lost few fingers if he would have caught Sasuke bare-handed. Itachi quickly went through some seals. Fire release, great fireball jutsu. The huge fireball that was coming to Sasuke was cut clean into several pieces by the wire. Itachi had to admit, he was surprised to see the flexibility of that. Itachi threw another fireball and then jumped to one side to throw some shuriken at his brother, but had to step back to dodge the needles, which were precisely aimed at his eyes and at some vital points. Itachi looked at the girl, fully intending to put her into his illusion. And once again he was surprised. Because Haku was wearing her special mask, and it was hard for Itachi to notice where her eyes were looking at. He didn't have time to ponder about that as Sasuke's wires came at him again from an unpredictable angle. He jumped up and threw his kunai and shuriken in a way that they clashed with each other to redirect their angle. Sasuke knew this style all too well. He immediately redirected his wire to cut the kunai and shuriken. And this momentary distraction gave Itachi enough time to go for his next target. But unfortunately for him, she was prepared. The moment he came close, and Haku had to admit that Itachi was very fast, she threw a scroll which had water inside of it. The water burst out, making Itachi to fall back, and it gave Haku what she needed. The distance between them and the water to create her jutsu. Hayatan, frozen needles of death, wiring art, death trap. A huge net made of Sasuke's deadly wire descended upon Itachi, and Haku's needles was coming at him through the net gap. Even with his powerful Sharingan, Itachi couldn't find any escape. He was really amazed at the deadly precision of the duo, but it was not enough. Amaterasu. The black flame burned through a portion of the net, also obliterating the needles from that side, giving Itachi the escape route from that deadly trap. To make me able to go that far. Itachi grinned, but he was breathing a bit heavily. But it is still not enough. You are not close enough, Sasuke, even when you are getting so much help. Sasuke gritted his teeth. He was about to lose his cool, but we are not the one who is out of breath. And about us ganging up on you, we are not S-rank shinobi yet. Haku's honest words helped Sasuke again. Itachi wanted to retort, but he felt the other presence coming. Without a word, he jumped away and then disappeared through Shunshin. Sasuke wanted to follow, but Haku stopped him by grabbing his shoulder. When Sasuke looked at her annoyingly, Haku pointed at something. His wires, they were still being burned by that black flame. With Naruto and Hinata. The moment Naruto realized who was behind the door, at least one of them, he immediately created few explosive clones. Hinata immediately took a fighting tense, but Naruto just pointed the window. No more words were needed as they both jumped out of the window. But the clones detonated before they could even land, making them to lose balance. But they were still able to land properly. They immediately took fighting stance when they heard the laughter, and not a second later, their opponent came down. Kisame's attire was slightly tattered, but other than that he looked fine, rather he looked excited. Hinata gasped when she realized who it was. She looked at Naruto worriedly, who frowned. Kisame Hashigaki. Naruto's confirmed Hinata's fear. You know your stuff, sprat. Kisame chuckled and raised an eyebrow when he saw Naruto's swords. Quite some fancy toy you got there. And in a flash, he was in front of Naruto. But can you use them? All Naruto could do was to put his Raikien to defend, but it was nowhere enough. It was as if Naruto's defense was meaningless. The huge swing made by Kisame with his Samehada made Naruto to go flying. Kisame was that strong, and the worst part was that he was using only one hand to wield his giant sword. Hinata immediately jumped back and fired her jutsu. 8 trigrams double heavenly vacuum palm. Kisame used the sword to defend himself and immediately struck Hinata, but she was flexible. She used the sword to jump up, but before she could do anything she had to defend the high kick, courtesy of Kisame. Now she went flying. Kisame wanted to finish off the nuisance but stopped when he felt the pressure. Twin Moon Storm style, Crescent Moon. Kisame swung his sword at the incoming jutsu and he was impressed by the sheer power, but it wasn't strong enough. Samehada sliced through the jutsu, eating a large portion of the chakra. Nice one, brat, but Kisame couldn't finish as hundreds of shadow clone came down at him, and quite a lot of them were explosive clones. Kisame didn't notice that, so when he took a huge swing to destroy the clones, all the explosive clones detonated themselves simultaneously. And the next attack came immediately. Flowing 8 trigrams 64 palms. Water release, water bullet technique. The jutsu disrupted Hinata's concentration and she immediately jumped to the side to dodge the sword strike, but only to receive a strong punch that sent her flying. Naruto jumped and caught her. But when he heard the voice behind him, his blood went cold. Watch your opponent, swordsman wannabe. And Kisame dropped the sword on the 2 defenseless genin. And in the next second, he was the one flying away from them. Naruto slowly looked back and what he saw made his jaws go wide. The person who saved them was wearing a long green vest that had white, carpet-like tufts, and a pair of baggy green pants. He also had thin green strands across his chest, and a beige belt that holds a small scroll on his waist. He was wearing a big straw hat and a green cloak with tree branch patterns. He was wielding a bamboo staff. When he turned around, Naruto blinked. He started to shake Hinata, who was still in his arms. Hinata, look! Hinata looked at their savior, and she blinked as well. It's a panda, a giant, cloth-wearing, bamboo-wielding panda. The said panda laughed openly hearing that. His voice was booming. Your boyfriend sure is funny, Hinata Hyuga. Naruto tightened his hold on Hinata, but before they could say anything, Kisame made his presence known, but once again the S-rank swordsman was pushed back. I am here to help. The panda looked at Hinata and smiled. Our summoner. Then he dashed toward Kisame and both of the warriors clashed. You are strong for an overgrown panda. You are not bad yourself for an expired fish. Kisame growled at the jab and became serious, but he was having hard time hitting his opponent. The panda was good at blocking, dodging and striking hard with minimum effort. Kisame went low and pushed his chakra to his feet. With the enhanced speed, he struck the panda. Kisame looked dumbly, Naruto's jaw dropped, and Hinata blinked. The panda blocked the sword thrust with his stomach, yes, his stomach. The sword made the belly of the panda to go inward a bit before the stomach stretched out and made the sword bounce back, only to hit the stunned Kisame straight in the face. But the panda jumped back, and only a second later Itachi came. When he stopped near his partner, he looked at Kisame holding his nose and then at the panda. Shaking his head, he said, Kisame, we need to go now. Kisame growled back in anger. Kisame, now? Itachi's stern voice made Kisame to step back. He looked at the panda and narrowed his eyes. Next time I am driving my sword through your stomach. With that, both of them left. That was so awesome! Naruto's exciting voice made the mood lighten up. He and Hinata came to their rescuer. So, you are like Hinata's summon animal. Hinata looked at the panda with awe. This was the animal clan that scroll contained. Hinata Hyuga. Hinata refrained from ing and meekly came forward. My name is Lishan, of the Panda Animal Clan. I am the elder who is watching over you to see if you have what it takes to be our summoner. Lee the panda then went to Hinata's level, well as much as he could considering his size. He put one hand on Hinata's shoulder and smiled. Tell me, young Hyuga, what do you think summoning animals are? Friends and teachers? Hinata said, not sure why she was asked the said question. Lee smiled and then it turned to laughter. He took the small scroll on his waist and then opened it. Just what I expected from you, you have the heart of a noble warrior. So do you wish to be our summoner, young Hyuga? Hinata nodded back shyly, making Lee to grin at her. Then write your name with your blood and then you will be our official summoner. Hinata did just that. Lee smiled, he put the scroll back and then ruffled Hinata's hair. It will be honored to have you as our summoner. The honor will be mine. Hinata finally smiled back. With that, Lee disappeared through smoke. Right after he was gone, Jiraiya along with Haku and Sasuke came there. You brats are alright? Naruto chuckled. I guess so. Few days later, Tsunade knew something bad was going to happen when she hit the jackpot. She wanted to leave Tanzaka's city immediately, but Shizen wanted to visit the local castle. So they went to see the castle, and after that they decided that they would leave the city after lunch. And that was where they met Jiraiya and his accomplice. Could you repeat that again, because I think I have problem in hearing. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya annoyed. Sensei decided that it is high time he steps down, and you are the perfect to wear the mantle after him. Jiraiya replied. I am not going to be the next Hokage. That is a fool's job. Tsunade groaned. Naruto's mind was elsewhere. After their encounter with the duo criminal, Yamato came with few other jonin. They tried to track them but were unable to. After that, they left taking Sasuke, Haku and Hinata as well. The reason for Hinata leaving was because of her injury. The strike she received from Kisame injured her shoulder. Nothing serious, but it was better for her to return back, which she reluctantly did. But Tsunade's last words made him to look at her with an annoyed expression. He snorted. As if this old hag can do anything. What was that, brat? Tsunade growled. I know who you are Kyuubi's jailer. Then she snorted. Such a waste of the fourth, to save Konoha by throwing away his life. There was a sound of lightning crackling. And the whole place went quiet. Tsunade and Shizen looked at Naruto with stunned expression, because sparks were coming out from his body literally. He didn't move, but his face had a hard expression. Jiraiya knew things were going to go downhill. Even if you are my relative, I will put you down if you say one more bad word about my dad. The silence was now deafening. My relative? Tsunade shouted. Your father? Shizen shouted. Jiraiya was also surprised, and seeing all the stunned faces, Naruto groaned. He could hear Reiju chuckling. Yeah, I know I screwed up again. The laughter increased. My great-grandfather is Tobarama Senju, who is Minato's grandfather and who in turn is my father. Seeing Jiraiya wanting to speak up, he continued to shut him up. I will tell you about it later. So what? You expect us to be all warm and cozy, family-like? Tsunade said, even though her eyes showed annoyed expression but her face had a doubted one. Naruto got up and looked Tsunade right at the eye. I don't care about that. I also don't care whether you want to take the Hokage hat or no. But what I do care is about someone who is in coma. And you will be helping him whether you like it or not. Naruto's expression darkened more. I will drag you to Konoha if I have to. Tsunade got up and looked challengingly at Naruto, and before Jiraiya could stop her, she smirked. You and me, outside. Let's see who will be dragging who. Naruto looked at her blankly before getting up and motioning her to lead the way. They went to a bit secluded side of the town for their match. Tsunade looked at Naruto and smirked. Seeing that you are only a genin, it would be unwise if I go all out. I am a senin after all. Naruto scowled hearing that. Then she raised one finger. I will be using only one finger against you, for both offense and defense. Jiraiya didn't like the gleam in Naruto's eyes. I think you should reconsider this. Tsunade scowled at Jiraiya. Nonsense, if this brat can make me use more than one finger then it will be his win. I hope you won't go back on your words. Naruto smirked. Don't overestimate yourself, brat, begin the match. Tsunade snorted. Jiraiya motioned the beginning of the match. Every part of Naruto wanted to rush towards Tsunade, but he knew that wouldn't be wise. Tsunade was underestimating him, and that was his chance. Time to use that. Naruto created 2 shadow clones who went through necessary hand seals, then both of them shouted. Storm release, laser circus. Naruto touched the back of the 2 clones who immediately dispelled themselves, and then he took direct control of the 2 orbs of laser circus. Storm release, twin laser circus. Tsunade didn't want to admit that, but she knew she messed up. There was no way of dodging the lightning lasers that was coming to her with just one finger. She put chakra on her feet and then jumped to avoid the lasers. She jumped in a way so that she would land on top of Naruto, but she was surprised to see Naruto changing the direction of the lasers. Cursing loudly, she punched to her side and the shockwave created from that was enough to dodge the lasers. When she landed, she looked at Naruto to see him smirking. You used more than one finger for defense, now for your offense. Multi-shadow clone jutsu. In a second, Tsunade was surrounded by 100 shadow clones, all of whom immediately charged at him. But Tsunade started to destroy them all just using one of her finger. She made a swipe with her finger to destroy the first group of clones, and then she pressed her finger on the ground to crack it so much that a lot of the clones lost their balance, and was dispelled. And then her danger senses went off. She looked to the front to see real Naruto charging toward her. Storm release, divine fist. Tsunade had more than enough experience to know that there was no way she could do anything against that jutsu with one finger, but she also knew she could hit him first before his jutsu would reach her. So with a quick dash she closed the gap and went to strike Naruto, but it seemed that Naruto also knew that. He body swapped with one of the clone behind her, and that foiled Tsunade's plan. And with just pure instinct she turned around and went to counter Naruto's jutsu with her punch, only to meet nothing. Because when Naruto saw her turning, he body swapped again. He dispelled his jutsu and smirked. And there goes your offense, so according to your rule it is my win, right? Tsunade looked at Jiraiya dumbfounded, who sighed back at her. I wanted to warn you, even if he is genin, power-wise he is elite chunin level. Tsunade looked at Naruto and scoffed at him, and without a word she left the place. It was late evening. Tsunade was sitting at the roof of the inn they were staying. She put down her sake cup when she felt the presence behind her. What do you want, brat? I heard from Shizen about your blood phobia and the loss of your loved ones. Hearing that, Tsunade held the cup just a bit tighter, but that was more than enough to break it. So what, are you going to pity me or are going to say that you know how it feels? I am not going to pity you, Naruto said as he sat beside Tsunade. But I am close to know how you felt. Tsunade quirked an eyebrow at Naruto but didn't say anything. Naruto took this chance to continue. I was an orphan, had no one. But then I found a surrogate brother, sister. And I also got a girlfriend recently. It was perfect. But now Ranmaru, who I consider as my little brother, is in coma. Naruto clenched his fists, and tears started to fall from his eyes. Yamato-sensei used to tell me that I am one of the strongest genin he had ever seen, that I have powers to achieve great feats. But standing beside his bed, I truly know how powerless I am. How having the strongest bijou inside me and having the great lineage meant nothing. Tsunade looked at Naruto with wide eyes. In that moment, she saw herself in Naruto, about how powerless she thought herself to be. Please help him. I beg of you. Tsunade put her hand on Naruto's head to try to calm him down. Naruto slowly leaned himself toward the Sennin. He didn't know when he fell asleep crying in her soothing embrace. Tsunade carried Naruto to his room, after he fell asleep, and when she got out Shizen was there for her. "You are going to Konoha?" "I can't help him, Shizen, not with my condition." Shizen smiled at her mentor. She cut fingers slightly just to draw a drop of blood. Tsunade tensed when she saw the blood, but before she could turn around Shizen came and gently grabbed Tsunade's hand with her uninjured one. "Tsunade-sama, when Dan died, I had no one, but you took me under your wing and raised me. To me you are my mentor, my motherly figure and my world. It pains me to see you like this." Shizen gently pushed her chakra to make Tsunade to activate mystical palm technique and then put her hand on the injury. "I know why you fear blood, Tsunade-sama, but this same blood runs through my vein and Naruto's vein. We are your family as well. I know you are strong enough to overcome your fear. All you need to is just to believe." The shaking reduced greatly as Tsunade looked at her apprentice with tearful eyes. Shizen smiled as tears started to form on the corner of her eyes as well. "Let's go back to our home." Owenbiki wiring art Haku got up. She took the food and put it beside Sasuke. "Because if you run away, at the end you will be the one to suffer." With that Haku started to leave, but she stopped and looked back. "You know where to find me, if you need any help." Sasuke watched as Haku left, and then slowly he took the bento box and ate the food. His new jutsu was complicated but was quite simple at the same time. When he found out that his secondary element was earth, honestly he was kinda unhappy till Kakashi told him what he could do with earth element. Earth jutsu were strong and sturdy, but there were other ways to use earth element. Best example, Gaara, the fourth and the third Kazekage. They used earth in a really unique way. After analyzing their style and reading a few other exceptional earth element users, he came up with his own style, and Kakashi enhanced it. The wiring art, just like how Gaara contained his special chakra-enhanced sand in his gourd, Sasuke put his chakra-enhanced wire in his gauntlet, through sealing. And for the element of the metal, he chose obsidian, one of the sharpest metals. It was simple in terms of theory. He would release the wire and then would control and maneuver it through his Sharingan. The best part, the wire didn't make much of a sound as it would cut and slash almost everything. But with his two-tomo Sharingan, it was hard to control its movement. And that was the reason he also cut the dead bodies of his allies. It made him feel disgusted and tainted. But that experience unlocked his third tomo. With a sigh he gently put down the bento and got up. He wore the gloves and activated his fully awakened Sharingan. "She is right, I can't run away. I don't have the luxury to run away." Chapter 35, The Fifth Hokage. Hinata sat quietly and waited. She was a bit confused because just moments ago she was in the hospital, checking her injuries. They weren't severe, all she needed was a bit of rest. And suddenly Ko, her ex-bodyguard, came and told her that she was summoned by her father and also pointed out that it was important. So here she was now in the Hyuga main hall. She wasn't nervous, but she couldn't help but worry a bit. Within a minute, her father and all the elders came and filled the room. Seeing this, Hinata straightened herself. Hayashi smiled at her daughter, who smiled back with a confused face. "First of all, congratulations Hinata, on your victory." Hayashi started first. His voice was sincere. Hearing that, Hinata's features softened and her posture relaxed. She bowed slightly. "Thank you, father." Then Hinata's grandfather spoke up. "Your victory and battle style really left a great impression on the nobles. And the techniques you used were marvelous. How did you learn them?" Hinata didn't see where this was going. She softly answered. "Gai-sensei helped me with taijutsu, whereas Yamato-sensei helped me with ninjutsu. As for the upgraded vacuum palm, I simply added one-sided rotation to the chakra output." Seeing the enlightened and excited face of the elders, Hinata added, "I can show you later if the esteemed elders want me to." The elders nodded to themselves, and even Hayashi had a small smile, though it didn't feel right to him. Even after what they did to her, she didn't have a single doubt when telling them about a jutsu that she developed all by herself. "Then what about your improved 64 palms, the one that you can use from far?" Another elder spoke up. Now Hinata frowned. If it was her jutsu, she didn't mind sharing it with them. After all, it was her clan, not someone else's. But that jutsu was possible only because of what Kushina did, and she promised Naruto's parents that she wouldn't indulge any secrets that they shared. "Unfortunately, that one jutsu I cannot share with the clan." "What?" the same elder shouted. Even all the elders started to get worked up for this, but Hayashi immediately intervened. Can you tell us the reason, Hinata? Hinata smiled at her father, and then folded her sleeves. The unique seals immediately became visible when Hinata pushed chakra there. Naruto-kun gave me these seals which affected my chakra. And because of that I can use the flowing 8 trigrams 64 palms. The first reason I cannot tell about the jutsu is because I do not know how the seal works. She wasn't lying, to be honest, she just wasn't telling the whole truth. The second reason is, Naruto-kun helped me to come where I am now. And to tell the secrets of the jutsu, which he helped me to develop, without his consent would be like a betrayal on my part. The Hyuga clan taught me to be more than that. The last blow actually made the elders to stop on their track. Hinata smartly avoided the anger of the elders by playing on the Hyuga honor. If they still tried to force Hinata, it wouldn't look good to their part. Hayashi inwardly smirked at Hinata's cleverness. Why not you invite the Uzumaki boy later? Hayashi's father calmly spoke and the elders nodded with him. We can talk to him along with you. That shouldn't be a problem, right? Hinata grimaced but nodded along. Meanwhile, the first thing Tsunade did after coming back to Konoha was to check up on Ranmaru. Yes, she still had a bit of blood phobia, but it was getting cured, all thanks to Shizen and Naruto, her new family. Speaking of family, you want me to do what? Naruto shouted. Quiet it, brat, we are in the hospital. Tsunade groaned. She was already hating her job and she still hadn't taken the hat yet. I am old, Naruto. And Senju clan needs a proper heir, and seeing that you are the direct descendant of one of the strongest Senju, it is understandable that you take the clan heir position, right? If you are old, then the third is ancient. Naruto snorted. Tsunade smirked. We are going to get along just fine. But still, you shouldn't have any objections. I mean, who wouldn't want to be Senju clan head? Sasuke wouldn't, he is an Uchiha. Naruto replied cheekily, but seeing the deadpan look on Tsunade, he smiled sheepishly. If I take the clan heir position, do I have to change my surname? Then it hit Tsunade why Naruto was a bit reluctant about it. No, there are special cases like this when one child can become the heir of 2 clans. They are very rare cases, but seeing that both Senju and Uzumaki are respected and powerful clans, you can take the both of the clan head position. To be honest, you have every right to. So my name will be Naruto Senju Uzumaki? Naruto said excitedly. It would seem so. Tsunade chuckled lightly. But don't tell anyone about it yet. I have to inform few people and confirm with some others. Tsunade then came in front of hospital entrance. I will see you soon, Naruto. I have some boring meeting to attend to before they finalize my permanent detention. Naruto chuckled lightly. It isn't that bad. Trust me. Tsunade smirked. When you will take the hat, you will know. And I will be there laughing my ass off about it. Naruto snorted at that. Tsunade laughed softly and turned to leave, but she stopped at the last second. She turned around and looked at Naruto. Thank you, Naruto, for showing me that I still have a family. Naruto grinned. I wouldn't have it any other way, and Tsunade. With a smile, Tsunade ruffled Naruto's hair and then left to Hokage Tower. Next day the ceremony went smoothly, but it was still exhausting for Tsunade. Still, it felt somewhat off to her, for being the Hokage, that is. Never in her life she thought she would be the one carrying the torch. She had her doubts, but that would never stop her. Because there were people, precious people, who believed in her, but still, it was an exhausting job. She knew it from observation. The door opened and she entered the meeting hall. It was a tradition to hold the first meeting immediately after the Hokage's ceremony to get acquainted with all the clan head. She took her place and looked around. She knew most people there, although some were new. She looked to see Hiruzen taking the place of advisor. She wanted to replace those old fools. Just Hiruzen would be more than enough. But that thought was for later. Everyone introduced themselves. It was just a formal meeting. After a little discussion it should be over, but Tsunade had other plans. I know this is supposed to be a short meeting, but in regard of the recent events, there are a few things that I need to clear up. Tsunade looked at Jiraiya, who nodded back at her. First, I would like to discuss about our residing Jinchuriki. That got the attention. Just asking, all of the people present here are aware of his parentage, correct? Everyone nodded back, making Tsunade to sigh. Of course, all the clan heads or anyone who knew the fourth well were aware of Naruto's parentage. They looked after Naruto the way they could. But still they were all ashamed to admit that they could have done more. Tsunade could see the guilt in their eyes. But she wouldn't blame them. Because compared to other Jinchuriki, Naruto's life was quite okay, not good, but at least he didn't have assassins and people hounding on his ass. Shaking her head, she snapped her fingers and few umbus started to distribute some documents to everyone present. All around eyes started to widen as soon as the document was read. Yes, the fourth Hokage, Minato Namikaze, was the grandson of the second, Tobirama Senju. There are more documents that the fourth collected regarding the matter. Then she leaned forward. But the reason I am bringing this out now is not for our late hero but because of his son. She paused for a bit to bring out the bomb. Because I want him to take the Senju clan head position. Of course, when he is of age and ready for the responsibly. Shikaku was the first to respond. You want to adopt him? Tsunade smiled. Of course, leave it to the Nara to figure out the real purpose of it. She relaxed and looked at other clan heads. I suppose so, more like mentoring him to be a proper clan head. I will also ask his teammate, Hakiyuki, if she is willing to fully settle down here and start her own clan. If she is, then I will also adopt her, temporary that is. Danzo tightened his grip on his cane, but other than there was no outer emotion. Everyone also seemed to be taken aback, but they didn't argue about it. There was no reason to. Seeing that everyone agreed silently, she grinned. Well, that went smoothly. Glad that everyone agreed. Now moving on to the next topic. Sometime later. Giggling lightly, she poured more sake and chugged it down swiftly. Sake after a long tiring day tastes the best. Glad to see you're enjoying yourself. Hiruzen chuckled. So I guess you are going to do just fine. Just fine my ass, you old pervert. Tsunade scowled at her teacher. This is the first day and I am already this worn out. Like Sensei said. Jiraiya grinned. You will do just fine. Tsunade replied back by chugging down more sake. So they accepted your invitation? Hiruzen asked softly. Tsunade looked at him and felt sorry for her teacher. She learned about the circumstances regarding Hiruzen and Naruto, although she knew that Naruto had the right to be angry but still hoped that he would forgive Hiruzen soon. Of course they did. Not only will they have a huge freaking compound all for themselves, they will also have the access to Senju storage and library. Tsunade smirked. The young were so easy to understand and manipulate. Are you sure it was the right time to tell them? Jiraiya asked with concerned voice. Yes, and I already sent people to notify Daimao regarding this matter. Tsunade put down her sake bottle and looked at Jiraiya and Hiruzen. I know you think that it is safer if you don't publicize these kinds of information. I fully agree on that, but sometimes you have to ask the people themselves what they think is the best instead of deciding it for them. None of them could look at her in the eyes after hearing that. Look, I am not going to tell the public about his parentage or his heritage, but that doesn't mean that I will keep everyone in the dark regarding him. He also agreed on this because he wants to mark his place on this world through his own hands. You told him about this? Hiruzen was surprised. Like I said. Tsunade gave them a deadpan look. I like to hear the opinion of the person that I am going to protect. Who knows, maybe he can give me a tip or two. Hiruzen just smiled back ruefully while Jiraiya just shook his head. With Naruto. This was the second time that he was called to the compound. Even though it was his girlfriend's clan house, he still didn't like it there. For such a big place, it sure felt plain and lifeless. With a sigh, Naruto started to follow a fidgeting Hinata through the corridors. It didn't matter what he was called for, he just wanted it to be done and over with and go back to his training. After passing few more corridors and hall rooms, Naruto finally reached the meeting room. It wasn't the room that got his attention but the people inside it, as most of them were the elders that he met on Hinata's match with Niji. Naruto immediately stiffened and became wary of the situation. Naruto-san, please take a sit. Hayashi said politely. He was sure all the elders took note of the change on his outfit. It was same as before except for the Senju crest on his left shoulder. Naruto sat directly in front of Hayashi, and Hinata sat beside him. If Hinata was being honest, she was scared. They didn't even need their Byakugan to read Naruto, who always spoke what he thought best. It was one of the things she loved about him, but at the current situation. Thank you for having me, Lord Hayashi. Naruto bowed lightly while seated. I hope you will forgive my lack of proper mannerism as I am currently learning them. Hinata turned sharply and looked at her boyfriend, eyes wide and jaw opened. Most of the elders also shared the same look, even Hayashi was surprised. Then Hinata caught the slight twitch in his lips. Did he just prank us? Never gets old. Naruto grinned inwardly. Pay no heed to it. Hinata's grandfather smoothly continued as if nothing happened. First, let me congratulate you for becoming the part of a prestigious clan. Naruto looked at him. All the pleasantries vanished from his face. I am sorry to correct the esteemed elder, but I was always part of a prestigious clan, unless you forgot what Uzumaki clan did for our village. Because of their years of experience, none of the elders flinched, but that didn't stop them from doing it silently. Seeing that the conversation was getting derailed and in a bad way, Hayashi intervened. Please do not take it as any form of insult, as we didn't mean it that way. Naruto silently nodded toward the clan head. Hayashi knew the longer Naruto stayed, the more he would clash with the elders, and he didn't want to deal with a sticky situation like that. Naruto-san, the reason I called you here for was that we wanted to ask something of you. And it is regarding Hinata, Hayashi said, but the reply was something he didn't expect. Of course, I will be delighted to take the responsibility. Heck, no one expected that, and as Hinata, she was blushing up a storm. I am glad to hear that, but… Hayashi coughed. He knew Naruto was enjoying making them speechless, but he just hoped that he would take it lightly what he was about to ask. What we want to know is about Hinata's seal on her arm. She told us that it was because of that seal she was able to upgrade her 8 trigrams technique. And that you helped her with that. We want to know that if you are willing to share the knowledge with us. Hayashi's father continued. Naruto became silent for a moment. He looked at Hinata, who started to fidget again. He understood that Hinata in her own way was trying her best to avoid this, but at the end there was much she could do. He just couldn't see how these people could ask something like this. He was this close to lash out, but seeing Hinata's pleading eyes, he calmed himself. I am sorry, but I have to decline for 2 reasons. Naruto could see the agitation on the elders' faces, but Hayashi and the other person still had that blank mask on. First, and the main reason, is that I was not the one who made the seal. And the second reason is that the person who made the seal gave it to her, specifically as a gift. Still, could you ask that person to at least give us the notes of the basics of that seal? Hinata's grandfather insisted. I can ask, but I can already tell you that he will decline. Naruto shrugged. Shouldn't you try harder, as you are currently courting our heiress? One of the elders spoke up. Naruto looked at him blankly. He opened his mouth but then closed it immediately. Every Hyuga could see from he didn't take that very well. But before Naruto could utter the first word that he thought of, Hayashi stood up slowly, and that made everyone to tense up. Please walk with me, Naruto-san. Then he looked at the elders. Meeting dismissed. His tone didn't leave any room for arguments. Seeing that all the older Hyuga got the message and started to leave, he turned to Hinata. Hinata, why not you go meet Hanabi? She was looking for you. Naruto squeezed Hinata's hand in reassurance, and then followed Hayashi. None spoke as they passed few corridors till they reached the backyard garden. It was then that Hayashi broke the silence. Naruto-san, I am guessing that you want to say something. Naruto looked at Hayashi and then spoke with drawn-out sigh. Can I drop all the formalities and speak freely? Hayashi nodded his head and replied quietly. Go ahead. You are an ass of a father. The clan head looked at his daughter's boyfriend with a raised eyebrow, and had to admit that Naruto wasn't lacking on the courage department at all. Maybe too much daring. Hayashi turned to face Naruto completely. Naruto-san, please speak. You. Pointing at Hayashi, Naruto growled. Gave me the permission. So let me speak what I want, because I really need to get this shit out. He took a deep breath and matched Hayashi's gaze. Old man, Hinata is very special, both as a shinobi and as a person. And it is not just me, ask anyone who trained her or know her well. But did you notice her potential? No. Did you help her reach that potential? No. Heck, did you even do anything family-like at all? Now that she showed all of you what she can do, what the unworthy clan heiress can do, you are all sucking up to her? Our world doesn't work like this, you know this better than me. Even though with all these, she will still forgive you for everything that you have done. Heck, I am sure that she already will tell you all about her self-taught techniques. Techniques that you have no right to learn. And yet you people want more? Naruto was fuming, and no matter how hard he was trying, he was unable to calm himself down. He was an orphan from birth, but Hinata had it worse. She had to experience the feeling of being isolated and neglected, even though she had such a huge clan with so many members, with so many relatives. Hayashi took a deep breath. He could clearly see what Naruto was thinking, and he was ashamed to know that all of what he was thinking was true. Look, I am an outsider. I have no right to judge how you run this clan, but please, just don't hinder Hinata's growth. And please, for Kami's sake, don't abuse her kindness. All of you thought that it was a weakness that her enemy was going to exploit, but looking at how things are going, I really wonder who are exploiting her gentle manner and kindness." By the end of his speech, Naruto was taking deep breaths, because he could feel that his power slowly started to leak out. But it was so damn hard to keep his head cool after hearing and seeing what the Hyuga elder, what her own goddamn father wanted from her. "I am a very traditional man, Naruto-san." Hayashi spoke as he turned around and faced the garden. "It is not that I wanted to, but it is because I have to. I have to lead one of the biggest and oldest clan, and I have to do it how my ancestors did. Yes, I know that we need changes, but it is not possible to bring such dramatic changes to the clan in such a short period of time." "What is this has to do with Hinata?" Naruto asked, not knowing where this was going. "Whether you believe it or not, I do love my daughters and I want the best for them. I don't want to put the caged bird seal on any of them, and I was able to make quite a few elders to agree to it. But for it to happen, I needed both of them to be strong, very strong. So I pushed them as much as I could, in traditional Hyuga way. Hanabi was able to prove herself where Hinata failed." Hayashi didn't speak for some time, but from where Naruto was, he could see that the man looked tired and old for some reason. "She reminded me so much of her mother that it scared me. The thought of her failing and ultimately getting sealed, I couldn't bear it. So maybe subconsciously, I started to distance myself from her." "So you think it is okay to get back into her life now?" Naruto frowned. "I am a human being, Naruto-san. I make mistake. We all do, some are small and some are big. And some are unforgivable. And I am sure what I did fall under the last category." Hayashi turned around and gave a small smile. "I will not forgive myself for what I did to Hinata, but I will not let it stop me from making it up to her." Naruto looked away and grumbled. "Also, I do not need your forgiveness or any others. Honestly, I do not care of what opinion you have of me." Hayashi chuckled when he saw Naruto turn to look at him sharply. "So why tell me all these then?" "Because she is precious to both of us and we both want her to be happy, so I wanted you to understand me, I suppose." Hayashi replied back as he started to walk again. "Guess I can see where you are going with this." Naruto begrudgingly admitted that Hayashi was right. Instead of them clashing with each other, Hayashi wanted them to understand each other, not for them bid for Hinata. He didn't mind that, but... "Just one thing, old man." Hayashi stopped and looked around, and immediately his eyes widened, because Naruto's azure blue eyes were glowing like ice blue maelstrom as he spoke, and with a low growl. "If any one of the elders touch her, there will be reckoning. And you better believe it." Chapter 36, Tsunade and Kumo. Haku turned around and looked at her reflection on the mirror. She was wearing a short ice blue color yukata with white flower beautifying her dress. It was a gift from Ibiki, but Enko chose it, so it wouldn't come as a surprise that the yukata was showing her curves and skins more than she would like it to. "Well, I can tease him about it if he stares too much." Grinning, Haku took one last look at the mirror and went out. The Senju compound was huge. Well, initially it was bigger, but Tsunade cut down the size of the place, seeing that there weren't many people living here. Still, it was enormous for 5 people. At least they could hog the special training grounds all for themselves. "Hakune, you look really pretty." Naruto beamed. Haku blinked. She didn't notice that she already reached the backyard. "Are you going anywhere, Hakune?" Hearing that voice, Haku's face brightened up. It was Ranmaru. After Tsunade came, the first thing she did was to focus on him. According to her, his legs were damaged badly but not beyond saving. It took few surgeries before Ranmaru's condition became stable. Ranmaru wasn't fully discharged from the hospital, but Tsunade gave him the permission to go out from time to time under supervision. Although he has to use a wheelchair, as it would take some time before he could fully walk again. But both Haku and Naruto was glad that it didn't dishearten their youngest member. Rather, using this chance, he started to study on genjutsu and anything that he could get his hands on. After all, in the ninja world, knowledge and information had the same value as raw power, if not maybe more. "Yes, I have a date." Naruto's smile dropped where Ranmaru had a puzzling look. "You are too good for that, duck butt." Naruto grumbled. "Don't listen to Naruto." Shizen smiled. She was here for Ranmaru. Whenever he would go out from the hospital, Shizen and Naruto or Haku would be with him. "You look wonderful," she added as she winked at the ice user. "Thank you, Shizen-san." Haku laughed hearing that and then flicked Naruto's nose. "All girls are too good for you good-for-nothing boys." She didn't wait for Naruto to burst out, so she left with via Shunshin. Naruto blinked as it took few seconds for him to understand what Haku meant. Hey! Don't lump me with him! I am better than that dickhead! But Haku was long gone. Let her enjoy the date, Shizen said, and then with a stern voice continued. And you better not do anything to sabotage her date, or I will tell Hinata about it. It wasn't much of a threat, as Hinata never got angry with Naruto, but it was her disappointed look that he feared the most. So with a grumble he dropped all his pranking ideas that he just came up with. By the way, it's time for us to go, Shizen added as she held Ramura's chair. So soon? Naruto asked dejectedly. I got a few checkups today, and also Kurenai-sensei said that she will introduce me to someone. Ramura gave an apologetic smile. Naruto smiled sadly but ruffled Ramura's hair. He wanted to go all the way to hospital, but Ramura strongly rejected his offer. So he saw them off till the compound gate. He will be fine. Hearing that voice, Naruto smiled and looked to his side. There was a large 3 feet majestic-looking white wolf was standing beside him. Reiju now was able to come out of his mindscape and would take this form. All he said about his reason for coming out, that it would be easier to teach Naruto like this. I know. With a sigh, Naruto looked straight at Reiju. So will we start today? Yes. Reiju started walking toward the Senju training ground. It had a barrier to prevent outsiders from entering, and he also tweaked the seal to make it stronger. So what will you teach me? Naruto couldn't hold back his excitement. After all, from now on Reiju would directly train him whenever he could. That depends on you, Naruto. That stopped Naruto on his track. Wait, what? Right, now you are focusing on 3 areas. Kenjutsu, Senjutsu and Ninjutsu, more towards your bloodline limit techniques. It is good, but I want you to categorize them. Prioritize the one area you want to improve the most, and as for the other 2, just keep on practicing so that you don't lose your touch. Reiju explained. So I have to decide which one will be my primary style, and which one would be my secondary? Why though? Naruto replied back. Confusion was still written on his face though. Yes, and as for the reason. Reiju paused for a second before continuing. How about this? Remember the fight with that shark guy? What is your opinion about that fight? Naruto became quiet after hearing the question. He wouldn't brag, but he fought quite a lot of people and most of them were very strong. But never, in any fight, he felt so helpless. Even fighting against Gaara when he was going to his Biju mode was nothing compared to that time. Kisame just toyed with him, and Naruto was sure Kisame didn't even bring out 1/10 of his maximum power. There will be people like him coming at you, if not stronger than him. I want you to be ready for them, or at least strong enough to run away. With a sigh, Reiju looked at the dejected Naruto. This world is harsh, Naruto. I don't have to tell you that. Even I can't tell who will live or who will die tomorrow. If you want to protect your precious people and to follow through your nindo, you have to become strong, very strong. The faster the better. And I think you can accomplish that by specializing one area first rather than trying to master so many areas all at once. Naruto took a deep breath. It was the harsh truth, but that wouldn't stop him. Thank you, Reiju-san. Reiju didn't know what Naruto thanked him for, but it made him smile. That was why he got attached to Naruto, because no matter what, it was hard to keep his spirit down. He just hoped that it stayed that way. I think I will go with the Senjutsu as my primary fighting style. Now this startled Reiju. Why Senjutsu? Because you said it takes time to master, but if I can master Senjutsu I can counter other styles of jutsu easily. Naruto beamed at the sacred wolf. Most of other styles of jutsu. Reiju corrected him with a smile. PSSH, small details. Naruto waved his hand. So are you okay with my choice? Reiju laughed. The question should be, are you okay with your choice? Naruto tilted his head to the side and answered with a blank face. If I wasn't okay with it, then I wouldn't have made the choice, now would I? You really are different. Reiju just shook his head and looked around. They finally reached the training ground. So are you ready? Of course I am ready, believe it. With Tsunade. Fire Daimyo send his sincere apology for not being able to come today. I understand that he is a busy man. But the fact that he has sent his personal advisor in such a short notice means that he took this more seriously than I thought. Tsunade smiled at the person sitting in front of her. Of course, and trust me, he will be visiting you soon regarding that child. After all, he always admired the 4th. Thank you for coming here all the way, Zenko-san. Tsunade got up and both shook their hands. My pleasure. There was a pause, and I was hoping if I could see him myself. Not now, maybe when we are having our dinner perhaps? The person called Zenko asked with a sheepish smile. If that is okay with the fifth. Of course, I will ask someone to fetch him at that time. Now it was Tsunade's turn to give a sheepish smile. But just a warning, he is known as the most unpredictable ninja and prankster of the leaf for a reason. Then I guess I will enjoy our meeting more than I thought. Zenko laughed. With that an Umbu showed the person out. Tsunade didn't even have the time to take her sake out when Shizen came in. She looked slightly panicked. With a sigh, Tsunade put the cup and bottle back in the drawer. Tsunade-sama, an ambassador from Kumo came. He said that it is urgent, and he needs to talk to you immediately. Shizen blurted out everything in a single breath. Slow down, I got it. Tsunade sighed. Send him in, I suppose. Shizen bowed and left. Tsunade immediately started to think back exactly why Kumo would send an ambassador instead of a regular messenger. She had a bad feeling about this, because last time an ambassador came from Kumo, things didn't turn out well. The door opened and Shizen showed the way. The person that entered immediately earned the irk of Tsunade. He had the typical tan skin and light-colored hair, but what pissed her off was the arrogance rolling off from the said person. With a poker face, Tsunade motioned. Have a seat. The person bowed and took the seat. Greetings, Tsunade-sama. First I would like say that Reikage-sama has sent his regards on taking the mantle. I hope we would be able to keep the relationships between our villages as peaceful as it is right now. For some reason, Tsunade felt that his last words had some mockery to it. But for now, she would just see where this was going. Thank you. But can I ask the reason for your visit? With a wicked grin, the person slowly put the files he was holding onto the table and pushed them to Tsunade's side. This form of act could be considered rude, but Tsunade knew that something was wrong here. With a stern face, she took the files and opened them. As the time went by, the temperature of the room started to drop. By the time Tsunade finished reading all the files, her face lost all emotion, but any veteran shinobi could see that she was anything but calm. May I know your name? That question startled the ambassador, but he quickly regained his composure. My name is Seo. So Seo, are you sure that Reikage-sama has sent this documents? Because I find it hard to believe that a Kage could write such bullshits. Seo visibly shuddered at the tone but immediately smiled back. I can assure you that these documents are legit, and was given to me directly by Reikage-sama. Please do not slander him, or his work. His voice was small as if he was reprimanding a child. Tsunade took a deep breath. So let me summarize all of these. Because this person called Shinji Yatsuki died in our land, who surprisingly was the nephew of the clan head, we are supposed to hand over our storm release user in return, who had no head in this matter whatsoever. Tsunade gave a wry smile. How did Reikage put it here? He suspects some underhanded method regarding his origin. If we do not comply, there is a risk or resuming open warfare again? Tsunade-sama. Seo smiled and spoke softly again. I know you are angry, but let's be honest here. Only Kumo have storm release users. We don't know how Konoha got hold of a storm release user, but Reikage-sama will not ponder over it. Seeing that Tsunade wasn't speaking, he brightened his smile and continued. If Tsunade-sama needs some time, it is perfectly fine. But I think you should consider this very carefully. With that, Seo got up and immediately stopped when he saw the look on Tsunade. It was that of a predator locking on her prey. That won't be necessary. Tsunade smiled. After all, I am not the third. And with that she snapped her fingers. 1 second Seo was standing, and next he was on the ground while his arms tightly bound behind his back. Then two Umbu forced him to sit on his knees. Tsunade got up from her chair and lazily went around the table. Enjoying the horrified look on Seo's face, she sat on top of her desk. Tsunade-sama. What is the meaning of this? Who are you? The question stopped Seo from struggling. He just blinked at the woman in front of him. Seeing his confused state, Tsunade asked again. Who are you? What is that got to? He couldn't finish as he felt the immense killing aura coming from the person in front of him. It was so suffocating to the point that he could literally feel his life slowly being sipped away. Who are you? I am Seo, an ambassador from Kumo. The reply came immediately. And who am I? Then it hit him. He wasn't talking to a woman or a Sannin, he was talking to a Kage, leader of one of the Great Five village. How could he have messed up so badly? The answer came immediately to him, because he thought Tsunade was like the third. After all, I am not the third. Fear started to creep onto his heart, and he completely lost his voice. I thought that an ambassador should know basic courtesy, but guess not all the villages are like us. Tsunade just chuckled as he looked at dumbfounded Leo. Learn to respect your superior, kid. Her voice was soft, completely mimicking his tone from before. Now on to the matter at hand. Tsunade took one of the papers and just glanced over it. Let's break it down slowly, shall we? This, Shinji Yatsuki, died in our land. My condolences. I am not going to use the excuse that we were under attack and that he died by our attackers. What I want to ask is that can you tell me why we found his body right in the middle of a battle zone? Silence lingered throughout the room before Tsunade frowned. I asked you a question? As if cold water was dropped on his head, Seo immediately stuttered. Because they were running away to get to safety. After all, the stadium was compromised. So instead of going to the safe zone that our shinobi created, which was clearly visible, they ran straight into the war zone? Tsunade put a finger up when she saw Seo was going to protest. Here, let me show you something very interesting. She took a map and held it in front of her. This is the stadium, this is where we found Shinji's body. And this is where our storm release user was fighting alongside with the Hyuga, and when she connected the dots with her finger, it made a straight line. I don't know about anyone else, but to me it doesn't look like they were trying to find a safe location. Seo was sweating bullets. It wasn't supposed to go like this. The idea was simple and foolproof. Reikage made fake documents indicating that number 3 was an important member of Yatsuki, one of their noble clan. Although his death wasn't directly related to Konoha, but it would open up the opportunity to bring out the question regarding the origin of their storm release user. Because clearly, except for Kumo, there were never any report of other villages having storm release user. So it would be easy to accuse them of kidnapping one of their core bloodline limit user. Then from there they would slowly start to put pressure on Konoha. There was also a major fact that they just faced an invasion, and so Reikage thought that the 5th, like 3rd, would do anything to avoid doing anything that may spark a war between them. It seemed that he was wrong. And Seo shivered as the room temperature dropped few degrees more. You people had the guts to accuse us for kidnapping? Are you for real? Seeing that Seo was unable to talk properly, Tsunade continued. I am pretty sure you are gonna bring out your already scripted long list of excuses about how the 2 foiled kidnappings before had nothing to do with Kumo. Tsunade took a deep breath and dropped her killing intent, because any more and she might have to send another body to Reikage. She motioned for the Anbu to release their holds, which they did immediately. I will send the papers that will explain the origin of our storm release users. Tsunade got up from the table and headed to her chair, but before sitting she gave a side glance at the ambassador who got the message as he immediately knelt down. Of course, Hokage-sama. I will deliver the message to Reikage-sama. And with that he bolted out of the room. Tsunade narrowed her eyes and gave a meaningful look at one of the Anbu, who immediately disappeared. Almost at the same time Shizen appeared in a hurry. Without looking at her, Tsunade cut her off before she could speak. Arrange a meeting with the daimyo, it is urgent. Somewhere else Sasuke didn't know whether his current situation was a curse or a blessing. On one hand, he was wearing this weird formal getup that didn't sit well with him, but on the other hand he was having quite the nice view. Enjoying the view? He snapped his head faster than a shunshin and looked away. I got no idea what you are talking about. Haka grinned. I meant the weather, or you were watching something else? Sasuke's eyebrow twitched. She got him. And it wasn't the first time. Since the start of their so-called date, they kept trying to outsmart one another. Needless to say, Sasuke was far behind. But he enjoyed this kind of banter. Unlike the ones he used to have in the academy, especially with Naruto, where the arguments only lied on who had the meanest punch or who looked the coolest. These ones were more refreshing. Corner of his lips twitched upward when he saw most of the boys, even some adults, stop to give Haku a second look. He wouldn't deny, she was beautiful to begin with, but today she looked exceptionally pretty. But he ain't saying it out loud. His grin would widen whenever he would see the males looking at her with admiration and then look at him with envy. It made him to feel somewhat superior. He blamed it on his Uchiha gene. The date went well, despite all the teasing and friendly arguments. It wasn't a planned date, and both of them liked it this way, because... I hope you are not thinking this of a date, Sasuke-san. Sasuke blinked. He looked to see Haki giving him a coy smile as her eyes darted from his face to his hands. Because you are here as my escort and to carry my stuffs, as promised. If Sasuke was Naruto, he would have dropped all the shopping bags and would start lashing out saying that he didn't lose the match. If Sasuke was Naruto, he would have also pointed out, rather loudly, that both of them were getting what they want because the match was a draw. If Sasuke was Naruto, he would have made a shadow clone and let him carry the bags, saving him some dignity. But Sasuke was not Naruto. So all he did was to scowl and gritted his teeth. Now, act a bit more refined if you can. I will let you know that out of all the males around my age, I can be considered as one with the most refined attitude. Haku blinked and then started to think back. Guess you are right. Are we done? Because it is almost evening. Sasuke pointed out. Haku looked at the sunset and smiled. Yes, it seemed so. With a sigh, Sasuke went to the nearest bench and put all the bags there. He looked back at Haku and opened his mouth. He had so many things to say, but the words got stuck in his throat. It was her turn to tell her why she was against him getting his revenge. Why she looked so sad every time he talked about killing his brother. But no matter what, the words wouldn't come out. Because he was afraid that Haku might say something that would make his will to waver. And he just couldn't do that. Because it's okay to hate him. Sasuke looked at Haku with wide eyes. It's okay to fight him for revenge, not for justice. She wasn't looking at him, but her voice was soft. But it is not okay to let the rage consume you. She turned. Her eyes were soft and full of melancholy. Then she gave him a smile. Because then, you would turn into the very person that you hate so much. Sasuke blinked. It felt like her words were echoing throughout his whole being. He finally understood one question he kept asking him since past few months. Why did her opinion mattered? Because she understood him. After that nightmare, there were a lot of people who came to console him, and some even wanted to adopt him. But he rejected everyone. Because to him, no one understood his pain. No one knew how it felt like to live in a huge compound of a proud and a noble clan all alone. No one knew how it felt like watching the kitchen for hours, replaying his mother cooking there on his mind, or what it was to be like to sit on an empty family table and kept glancing at the front chair, hoping his father's stern voice to come and say to eat his untouched food. No one knew what it was like to listen to the silence of his house and compound, day after day. He knew quite a lot of people were honest and sincerely care about his well-being, but to him it felt like they pitied him. And it angered him. Even the classmates who wanted to befriend him, he shunned them. He knew something was wrong with him because he wasn't like this before. It didn't take long for him to figure out that what was wrong with him. He was broken. Because he noticed that no laughter or tears would come out from him no matter how hard he tried. He could feel most of his emotions started dying. He was slowly becoming an empty shell that kept replaying the memories from the past. The only way he was able to hold on to his sanity was his rage toward the person who made him like this, who took everything from him. Does it get better? Sasuke asked softly. Not completely, but it will, if you let other people in. Haku answered just as softly. Because after you kill him, there is nothing to stop you from turning back to the hollow shell you once were. Sasuke grinned. She did understand him, too well. Also, no matter how much he hated to admit it, but Naruto also understood him to some extent. He knew the feelings of loneliness, much like him, but Naruto didn't know the feeling of true loss or betrayal. Maybe if they were on the same team, they could have started to see each other eye to eye. Who knows? So, what do you suggest? Haku was going to answer but stopped when she saw the grin. It made her smile. Be like Naruto. The grin disappeared and the usual scowl made the entrance. I like being myself. Being a brooding emo brat? Haku started to understand why Zabuza always had that superior grin when he made fun of, more like trash talk, others. She took a good look at the increasing scowl on Sasuke and her smile widened. Yes, it was quite amusing. With Naruto, this is harder than I thought. Naruto sighed. He wasn't frustrated, well, maybe a bit. You don't learn senjutsu by popping balloons. Naruto gave a deadpan look at Reiju, who started to chuckle. So what's wrong? Meditation is hard. Naruto's shoulder slumped. It may sound I am complaining, but it looks like it will take ages before I can use senjutsu properly. Reiju smiled and lay down beside Naruto. Meditation is the first step, and then comes concentration, chakra synergy, and lastly balance. That's quite a lot of things. Naruto said a bit dejectedly. Naruto. He looked at the majestic beast who was looking back at him calmly. As far as my memory serves, the youngest person who completed sage training was in his early 20s. Even sages from this era and previous ones started their training at early teens. At max compared to them, you started a lot early, and if everything goes smoothly, I am sure you will be the youngest sage ever. Naruto beamed hearing that. By the way, it will take minimum 2 years before you can completely use senjutsu. And I am not even talking about mastery of the art. And boom, with that goes his happy mood. He looked at a grinning Reiju blankly. It took few seconds before he composed himself, and 2 years? Pfft. Dream on. I will finish my training in 1 year, believe it! Reiju's smirk widened, because he knew Naruto could finish the training in 1 year, but just for safety and to make sure that Naruto wouldn't push himself in dangerous level, he told that lie. He closed his eyes and replied, Then you better resume your training. Naruto growled and sat down to start mediating. But before beginning, he blinked and looked at Reiju. One more thing. Reiju opened one eye lazily. I will make super awesome jutsu from popping balloons, just you wait. Chapter 37, Tsunade and the Council. Tsunade closed the file and took a deep breath. She had a huge satisfying smile on her face. She had the every reason for it too, because Kumo's blunt attempt to take Naruto backfired. Their first kidnapped target from Konoha was Kushina, which was foiled by her would-be husband. The kidnappers were all missing nin, but they knew better. Because their missing nin status was updated on the bingo book just few months before the kidnapping attempt. Anyone could see that this was planned, but the tension between all the villages was already high. So, Daimyo and Hokage was unwilling to take to Kumo. Next one caused more havoc. The ambassador died while he tried to kidnap the Hyuga heiress. But the truth was the ambassador took his life when he was caught and defeated by Hayashi. The third tried to convince Daimyo to help him against the Kumo, but the threat of war was too much, especially since it hadn't been long after the Kyuubi incident. So they had to give in. But this time it was different. This time, Kumo acted rashly, thinking they could have win or get away scot-free. But Tsunade had the upper hand. No matter how indecisive Fire Daimyo was, even he would fight tooth and nail for the legacy of the fourth and the next heir of the Senju clan. So after the talk with the ambassador, she immediately sought out Fire Daimyo with Jiraiya and explained the situation. He was quite put off when he heard the situation and immediately held a meeting with the Lightning Daimyo, along with Jiraiya. So before Reikage could even come up with anything, he was already told to drop the matter and write a formal apology to the Hokage for his blunder, which he was forced to do. Taking one last look at her finished work, Tsunade went out of her room. She was glad that it didn't escalate further, but it did make her worried to know that Reikage had his eyes on Naruto. But even he was not stupid enough to do anything to him right now. The scene before her when she entered the dining room made her smile wider. Shizen and Haku were setting up the table while Naruto and Ranmaru were reading a book, more like Ranmaru was giving some pointers to Naruto. Seeing who entered, Naruto beamed up. Tsunade Oba-chan, what took you so long? I will answer it with a satisfying smile when you will wear the hat. Tsunade smirked as she sat down. She looked around one more time. She was glad that she came back. Because after Naruto and his friends entered her life, it became a bit more colorful. Guess she was missing these family-like moments more than she thought. Tsunade suddenly blinked as she remembered her conversation with Hiruzen. By the way, brat, come to the Hokage Tower tomorrow. You too, Haku. Naruto and Haku both looked puzzled, but Shizen mouthed but refrained from saying anything. Before they could ask questions, Tsunade just waved her hand. Just come and see, now where's the food? Next day Tsunade was stroking her forehead. Just when she thought her workload was decreasing, another huge hurdle was thrown to her face. She was currently inside the council room, which was quite noisy because of the whispers all around. She looked at Hiruzen, who shied away from her stern gaze. At least she was glad that Jiraiya and Shizen were here, because she needed them to calm her down for what she would be doing later. The door opened and 4 people entered along with an Umbu. Finally, you brats are here. Tsunade smiled. She relaxed in her chair and grinned at the newcomers. Before we start, any idea as to why you are here? Haku looked at the other 3 as if they had a silent agreement. She stepped forward and spoke up. To answer your question, Hokage-sama, it is either for the Chunin exam or for the invasion. Tsunade didn't miss the hesitation in her voice. So she asked? You are uncertain, why is that? This time Haku looked at Hinata, which made Tsunade to smile. They talked to each other before coming here. Hinata stepped forward whereas Haku took a step back. Hokage-sama, we are uncertain as to why we were called in the council room. Forgive me if I am speaking out of line, but if it was a matter of Chunin exam or something else, shouldn't we be called at the Hokage office rather than here? Before anyone could raise their voice, Tsunade raised her arm in a warning manner, silencing any argument before it could even form. Tsunade couldn't help but rub her forehead. Even these brats know what is normal and what's not. With a sigh, she picked up a report and looked down. Your questions will be answered after. Now let's start this, shall we? Hinata Hyuga, Hakuyuki, Sasuke Uchiha, Naruto Uzumaki. Because of your performance in Chunin exam and your contribution in the invasion, all 4 of you will receive the honor to be promoted to Chunin. Her voice became gentle after this. I guess congratulations are in order. The silence in the room broke after these words. Everyone was clapping and the clan heads were looking at the 4 with appreciation. Tsunade was surprised to see Naruto so quiet, but she soon understood the reason. One could clearly see that Naruto was overexcited, but Hinata, who was right beside him, had a firm grip on his shirt. And from time to time she was giving Naruto a cute begging look. If she wasn't in the council, she would have outright laughed at the scene. The brat is so whipped. Tsunade waited till the clapping stopped. Now usually it should have ended right here, but... She gave a stern look at few people who just opened their mouth and shut immediately after seeing the look. I would like to explain the reason why you were chosen amongst all other participants. She looked back the newly promoted Chunin and smiled. There are 3 facts we keep in mind when we want to promote a genin to Chunin: recommendation, performance, and contribution. Now Hakuyuki, Tsunade continued, your performance at the Chunin exam was commendable, and I am not just talking about the fight in the stadium. You have power and you know how to use it. Now as for the recommendation, I gotta say. Tsunade looked at the report again. You really know how to work with others. Seeing the confused face, she chuckled and started to elaborate. There are quite a lot of people who recommended for you. Kakashi, Kurenai Gai, Anko, Yugao, and even Ibiki pointed out the same thing, that you are a full-fledged Chunin. You have the skill, the strength, the mindset, and the experience, a perfect Chunin material. I don't remember when was the last time I have seen so many people recommending a genin like this. Tsunade smiled but added soon after. But don't let it get to your head. Haku bowed in gratitude and stepped back. Now Hinata Hyuga. Hinata almost jumped in surprise. But she quickly regained her composure and stepped forward. You were recommended by Guy and Yamato. Both of them pointed out that you didn't reach the calm mind needed to be a Chunin, but you are almost there. You just need a bit more exposure to high-level missions. But it was your performance at the Chunin exam that earned your promotion. I personally didn't see your fight, but from the report it's clearly shown that all the judges liked the way you fought with balance, skill, and tactics, unlike normal Hyuga. Tsunade was lowered the volume of her voice at the end. No need for unnecessary dramas. You're still a bit rough around the edges, but I know that you will come around soon enough. Hinata smiled and bowed before stepping back. Well, girls had a better record than boys, as usual. Tsunade grinned when she saw Naruto and Sasuke got uncomfortable hearing that. Sasuke Uchiha, you did a good job in the fight, really good job. The slight mocking tone wasn't lost to anyone, and Sasuke could feel the icy stare at the back of his head. Also in the invasion, your contribution protected the hospital. But the main reason I promoted you was to have you as an example. We are shinobi, not samurai. The way you won the fight might leave some displeasing taste to some people, but it doesn't matter. Because at the end you won, and that's all that matters. Same for the invasion, you killed people. I heard that you had a slight breakdown because of it, and that is good. No matter how hard we try, we can't avoid killing. It's an occupational hazard. But it doesn't mean you have to like it. Tsunade then looked at all of them. Be it a lesson for you all. In our world, it is the outcome that matters the most. But also keep in mind that what kind of outcome you are looking for. Sasuke bowed and stepped back. Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto straightened his back and stepped forward. Your case was a bit debatable. You didn't show much tactics, nor did you have any recommendations. Naruto gripped his fists but stayed silent. But we couldn't deny the power you possess, the power that defeated quite a lot of strong opponents as well as had a huge contribution in the invasion. You are reckless, but according to the report you have no problem following orders. No, in some cases it was your recklessness and your power which was the key factor that saved the mission. Keeping you as a genin would be like cutting cooking ingredients with a missed sword. So welcome aboard. Naruto beamed. He was almost going to jump, but a cough from Hinata stopped him. He hurriedly bowed and backed off. Now, one thing I want to be clear with you, Tsunade continued. If it was a normal occasion, only Haku would have been a Chunin. Everyone's eyes widened at that. Because that is how it is, we chose the best one, max 2 out of all. But recent invasion put some gaps in our shinobi forces, and we need all the help we can get. Tsunade looked at them sternly. I hope all of you will live up to our expectations. All 4 new Chunin nodded at that. Hokage-sama. Koharu spoke from her place. Tsunade rubbed her forehead. Go ahead. The disinterest in her tone wasn't lost to anyone. Well then. Koharu coughed. Sasuke Uchiha, Hakiyuki, as both of you are the last of your clan and made it to Chunin, as for that you must follow the CRA laws. The civilian side of the council started to whisper, whereas the shinobi side didn't seem pleased. Seeing the confused look on 4 people, Hamura spoke up. CRA refers to Clan Restoration Act. As a shinobi of Konoha and the last member of your clan, it is your duty to go by them. Haku immediately knew something was wrong, and it was solidified when she saw Sasuke getting tensed and putting up his guard. But she didn't do anything hasty when she noticed Tsunade's eyes. She didn't look worried, just pissed. Haku knew her long enough to know that Tsunade would not let anything happen to them if it was really bad. So she asked, and what exactly we have to do? Hamura and Koharu shared a look before the latter answered. There are quite a few, but I will just point out the main ones. First, you are not to take high-risk missions as your lives are quite valuable. Second, you have to take multiple spouses in order to ensure your bloodline to be properly passed down. Third, you can join the special forces if you get the permission from your guardians. We will give you the copy of the book that has all the laws written down, look up the rest. Danzo grinned when he saw how the civilians started to get excited. After all, this was a huge chance for them to get inside a shinobi clan, one that had the potential to become a great clan over time. And that was perfect for Danzo, because he knew Haku and Sasuke would never bend to these kind of rule, so they would seek to enter the special forces. From there it would be easy for him to manipulate them more directly. Haku and Sasuke was seething with rage, but before they could voice their protest, one person beat them to it. What the hell is this bullshit? You can't just impose on them like this. It's like you're imprisoning them. Naruto shouted. Be quiet, boy. Koharu frowned. This is the law of the village which you serve. You, screw the laws. Naruto growled. Who the hell, Naruto? He immediately became quiet when he heard Tsunade calling out his name. You are a Chunin now. If you have an opinion, present it more properly. But... Naruto stopped as he saw the warning look from Tsunade. Now back to the matter of CRA. Unfortunately, they are right. You have to follow the rules. But... Tsunade motioned Shizen, who came forward and handed her a book and a report. She didn't open the book, rather just looked at the report. If I am not mistaken, according to the original laws created and written down by Shodame, which was of course approved by all the clan heads around that time, there are some minor mistakes to the laws you just presented. Koharu and Hamura flinched ever so lightly, which didn't go unnoticed by Jiraiya or Tsunade. Tsunade continued, but her eyes were strictly on her advisors. Sasuke Uchiha, Hakiyuki, as both of you are the last of your clan and made it to Chunin, you must follow the CRA laws. There are quite a few, but I will just point out the main ones. First, you have the right to deny high-risk missions as your lives are quite valuable. Second, you are encouraged to take multiple spouses in order to ensure your bloodline to be properly passed down. Third, you can join the special forces if you get the permission from your guardians or the Hokage. We will give you the copy of the book, look up the rest. Tsunade purposely said the exact way like her advisors to point out what was wrong. Few words, but they make such a huge difference, right? Tsunade's eyes didn't leave the advisors, who looked back at her and asked. We said what was written in this book. What I have here. Tsunade held up her book. Is one of the original. Now I understand that with time there were some changes. But last time I checked, neither the first nor the second made any changes on anything except for the military section. Now, Sensei. Tsunade looked at Hiruzen, who was sitting on his clan's seat. Did you make any changes on the rule book? Hiruzen grimaced but shook his head. He was also surprised to hear the advisors said, but he didn't remember what was written on the book, although he clearly remembered not to make any changes. Yes, but for their safety and to ensure their bloodline is passed on, they should follow the CRA. Homura urged. And they will follow the rules written on this book. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. I am not going to tell these kids to follow the rules of that book with questionable origin just because you said so. Then at least hear the opinion of the council, they have the right to speak. Kohara pointed out, and as if on cue the whispers started again. But they immediately were silenced by one glare from Tsunade. Council? Then tell me this, why is there civilians here? Tsunade asked with a cold tone. In times of emergency, to aid the village, the civilian council can be formed to help the Hokage to ensure. Hamura couldn't finish as Tsunade raised her hand. The Hokage can form a temporary civilian council with the aid of his advisors. Yeah, I know all of that. My question here is, when was this part of the council formed? One person from the civilian council was brave enough to stand up. He bowed and spoke. Lady Hokage, we are here. Sit back down. I didn't ask you. Her tone was colder than before. The anger was palpable. The merchant immediately sat back down. I am waiting. Tsunade almost growled. When the Kyuubi attacked. That was the answer she got, and it just made her angrier. So you are telling me that this temporary civilian council has been sitting here for 13 years? Tsunade didn't give her advisors the time to retort. Okay, fine. Maybe the old man needed that. Then can you tell me where's the paper? The paper asking for my permission if I am willing to keep the civilian side of the council or disband it? Hamura and Kohara could clearly see that this was not going to end well for them, but still they tried to reason with her. We thought that it would help. You all can have wonderful thoughts and ideas. There is nothing wrong with that. But your job is to tell me about those helpful ideas, and it is my job is to see them through. Before anyone could speak up, she slammed her fist down. She looked around to see everyone staring at her wide-eyed. This isn't going anywhere. You too, and Sensei, meet me in the office. Meeting dismissed. She got up and stopped immediately. Also, the civilian council is officially disbanded. And, she growled when she that all of them jumped to protest. I'd better not hear a single complaint about it. She started walking, but then her eyes landed on the dumbfounded four Chunin. What are you brats here for? Shoo, go throw a shuriken or something. Hokage office Jiraiya was right behind Tsunade, who was on her chair. Right opposite of her stood the advisors, and Hiruzen was sitting on the sofa beside them. He knew she was mad. The thing was, she had every right to be. It was all the small details that everyone missed, but as a surgeon, she focused on those small details to see the bigger picture. It was a different way to approach the problems, but it did bring some unexpected complications. Tsunade motioned Shizen, who was right beside her. She walked to her and gave her few files. Without even opening, she pointed at them and asked, Do you know what these are? Seeing that they weren't speaking, Tsunade continued. This, picking up one file, has the report of the minor changes that was done in the rules without Hokage's consent. This has the report of the changes done in Academy, once again without Hokage's consent. There are quite a few. I am not gonna go through all of them. But this, she picked up a specific file, is what crossed the line. Do you know why Suna attacked us? Tsunade asked. There was a pause before Koharu spoke up. We do not know, but whatever it was, they attacked their allies. There has to be consequences. Before Hiruzen could retort, Tsunade nodded. There will be, trust me. But here is the thing, if you do not know the cause of the disease, you can't make the cure. So no matter how many infected people you heal or cut down, if you don't have the cure, you are never safe. Tsunade continued as she opened the file. Suna was having a financial crisis after the war. And it didn't help when the Wind Daimyo started to send the missions on our way. Things like this happen, it is not uncommon. But the problem lies elsewhere. She turned to Hiruzen. Did you ever receive any statement from the Suna? Regarding their loss of appeal to their own daimyo? Hiruzen didn't answer immediately, but after thinking for a minute or two he replied. If I remember correctly, it was 3 to 4 years ago when they sent a messenger regarding the matter. But that time was a bit troubling because of the Uchiha incident, so I told them that I will talk to Kazekage about it at a later time. Did you meet any other messenger or notice from them after that? No. Tsunade nodded and looked at the report again. Well, the thing is, they claimed that they had sent for messenger after that meeting. She looked up and straight at the advisors. And all of them couldn't meet the Hokage, but they sure did meet the advisors. What are you implying, Tsunade? Hiruzen asked, shocked. I told Jiraiya to do some investigating regarding the cause of the invasion. It seemed that Suna was pushed to wall, so much that they literally couldn't think of any other option than to invade us to show their strength to their daimyo. Tsunade answered. I hope you are not going to let them go easy. Hamura frowned. They invaded us. Oh, don't worry, I am not going to go easy on them no matter their circumstances. Tsunade narrowed her eyes. But it is not about them, it is about you too. The silence in the room was deafening before Tsunade broke it again. Come on. I am waiting. Konoha was at lowest point ever since it was founded. The Senju clan almost went extinct, the Uchiha were gone. Hiruzen was past his prime, and amongst the legendary Sannin, only Jiraiya was left. We didn't have any frontal guard. We are not at wartime, we understand this, but this is Shinobi world. Hamura looked down. We have seen how long it takes to start a war. If a war start anytime soon, we are gonna be first to get hit, and we fear that we will face the same fate as Yuzoshio if that happens. We couldn't take the chances. We needed all the helps we could get, no matter the consequences. Suna were our allies? Hiruzen said, his shoulders slumped. And that is why we couldn't tell you, Hiruzen. Do you really think Suna would have done otherwise if the tables were turned? Koharu answered. I see. But what was the end result of it? Tsunade asked, and once again the advisors couldn't answer their Hokage. Because they were taking so many steps to avoid war, but their actions were the one that caused the invasion. Talk about irony. Hamura spoke up after some time. But we prevailed, and we could use this chance to grow stronger. How? By sucking up everything that Suna has? You know what? Don't answer that question. Tsunade rubbed her forehead. You can preach all about the future of Konoha and whatnot, but who was the one that suffered because of the invasion? Sacrifices has to be made for greater good. It has always been this way for us shinobi, Koharu said, in a low voice. There was a deadly silence. Do you know what you did? Tsunade asked, her face void of all emotion. They didn't answer, just nodded their head. No, I don't think you do. What you did, she pointed at all the files in front of her, is considered as treason of highest category. You know, where your whole clan gets executed? All the people in the room looked alarmed except for Tsunade and Jiraiya. The calm facade of the advisors were gone, and were replaced by pure terror. Tsunade put her hand up before they could utter a word. Not a word. Tsunade was taking deep breaths. It was easy to just hang them and be done with it. What they did were crimes. There was no sugarcoating it. Isn't this what you want? To fix the problems like a real shinobi, ruthless and straight cut, unlike Sensei's way. They didn't say anything, but their eyes told everything. They were pleading, and if Tsunade would ask, they would grovel. She shook her head. For now your clan will lose their seats in the council, and you two will be constantly monitored. I will give your final verdict at a later date. Tsunade slumped on her chair. Don't think for a second that I am doing this out of kindness. I just don't want blood on my hands so soon. Tsunade closed her eyes. Everyone got the message. Slowly the advisors left, but before Hiruzen could leave. Old man, you are not getting off that easy. You will be taking their place. Hiruzen didn't answer. He just gave a defeated smile and nodded before leaving. When their sensei left, so did Shizen as Jiraiya motioned her to. After she left, he went to the closet and took out a sake bottle. He came back and poured some for Tsunade. I am really starting to hate this job. You are doing it wonderfully, Tsunade-heim. Jiraiya paused before he poured some for himself. He debated if it was the right time or not, but at the end he made up his mind. Tsunade-heim, I know it is not the right time, but there is something you should know. Chapter 38, Tsunade and Jiraiya. Ino wasn't having a good day. Scratch that, she wasn't having a good week. Yesterday, Team 5 Sensei treated every members of the rookie team. Some of the other rookie team's sensei also contributed. When he was asked about the money, he mentioned something about making a fortune because of his students. There was nothing wrong with the treat, but the reason for it. Apparently, 4 rookies were able to become Chunin. She didn't have a problem with Sasuke, but the rest came as a surprise. Haku was full of mysteries. But Ino couldn't deny the fact that she was strong, beautiful, and cunning, like a true kunoichi. She lost to her, and later her father pointed out how and why she lost. Because she was still a girl, not a kunoichi. He didn't say it so roughly, but the context was the same. He also pointed out how Hinata changed. She was still shy and kind. But when she fight, she becomes a different person. Maybe that was why she was also promoted. But the biggest surprise was Naruto. He was the dead last. The fact that he passed came as a surprise to many. But now, where was he? He was considered as one of the strongest rookie to enter the Chunin exam. He also dominated the fights in the exam. But still, when Naruto proudly announced that he was promoted to Chunin, it came as a shock to her. Yo, Ino. What are you doing here? Speak of the devil. I wanted to talk to you. Ino put her arms on her waist. So, how long have you been waiting for me? In front of Ichiraka no less. Naruto grinned. Ino blushed. Another thing that infuriated her was about Naruto's look. He was no more that malnourished little brat. He was tall and gained muscles. He still wore orange cloths, but with style. And with his spiky hair, he had this wild boy look. And lots of girls were digging for it. It's lunchtime, so I thought you are gonna be here. Ino pointed out. Naruto grinned. Alright then, let's go in. I am hungry. Can't we go somewhere else? She had nothing against ramen, but it was not something she would eat for lunch. My treat, how about it? Is this a date? Ino put her hands under her chest. She smirked when she saw Naruto's eyes lingering there for a second. I wonder what your girlfriend's gonna think. Naruto's eyes snapped to her. He frowned, but just for a second. It was replaced by a sly smirk soon after. I am treating my classmate out of goodwill. It is not like I am bending her over the table, he said with a husky tone. Ino blushed up a storm. She sputtered but was horrified when Naruto started laughing. You got a long way to go, Ino, if you want to prank the infamous prankster. With that, Naruto went inside the Ichiraka. Ino was fuming, but her blush wasn't going down. She stomped her feet and followed Naruto. Naruto waited for Ino to sit down before ordering for him and Ino. So, what did you want to talk about? Naruto pointed. Aren't you gonna apologize? That's not something you should say to a young girl. Ino fumed. Naruto stopped for a second before bursting out again. It just fueled Ino's anger. Seeing that Ino might explode, Naruto pointed out. You started it, I finished it. Simple as that. Ino grumbled. She wasn't the type to admit defeat, but she had more important things to talk about. How did you become strong? She asked bluntly. Naruto blinked. And then blinked again. Huh! Don't get offended, but you weren't all that strong when we graduated, but look at you now. Did you get any special training? Any special treatments? Ino asked, with a slight frustration. Naruto looked at the Yamanaka heiress for some time before answering. Yes, I got special training, yes, I got special treatments. But compared to you, it isn't much. What? Ino almost shouted. Aren't you the heiress of a clan? Whatever retort Ino was making vanished. Naruto continued. I got some special training and treatment but worked my ass off for it. It wasn't handed to me in a silver platter. Day and night, I would just train. And when I can't train, I would read books that helped me furthering my skills. And I guess the result was shown on the Chunin exam. Ino smiled weakly. She didn't say anything as the food came. But she didn't have much appetite for it. Not after what she heard. Naruto didn't say it directly, but she understood. She wasn't training hard. That was her father trying to say. Her mind was still stuck in academy, she wasn't looking at the reality. She wasn't a student, she was a full-fledged kunoichi now. The thing was, she wasn't acting like one. That's not fair, I also train. Ino mumbled. But her voice didn't have the strength to back up her comment. Naruto grinned. His bowl was almost finished. Train harder then. If you think you are not strong enough, then train more. You have a family, a clan. Ask for their help. But you guys are so far ahead. Ino's eyes were downcast. So? Hearing that, she snapped her eyes to meet Naruto's. I was dead last for what? 3 years? And how long it took for me to catch up? Naruto went back to his food. You girls are so melodramatic. You are not strong now, but the fact that you acknowledge that means that you have what it takes to become stronger. You are smart, Ino, you are gonna catch up soon. Don't dwell on it. Then he pointed at her food. Now finish your food. Don't waste my money. Ino just looked at Naruto, stunned. His words weren't harsh, but they were true. They were direct, but they were motivating. Ino blinked and looked at her food. A small smile came to her lips. She started to eat. But when she looked at Naruto, who was done, for some reason she felt warm. Thank you, Naruto. Don't mention it. But the moment was broken when an Anbu entered the place. Naruto Uzumaki, you have been summoned by the Hokage. Make haste. With that he was gone. I hope she pulled it off. Naruto said absent-mindedly. Huh. Ino was confused at what was happening. Nothing, Ino. I will see you later. With that, Naruto paid the bills and hurriedly left. At least be a bit more gentleman. Ino sighed as she went back to her food. This is good. Some time ago, Tsunade put down her sake cup when she saw Hiruzen enter the office. You are early, sensei. Hiruzen chuckled and sat down opposite of Tsunade. I don't have much to do anyway. He looked back at the door and added, still consulting about the Chunin exam? You met Asuma and Kakashi on your way in, didn't you? Tsunade raised her eyebrow at Hiruzen. I didn't hear anything from them, although I am quite curious here. Tsunade looked at the clock and sighed. Well, we can't start without Jiraiya anyway, so why not? She pointed at her sake bottle. Hiruzen nodded, but he took the bottle before Tsunade and poured it himself. Tsunade's lip twitched a bit, then she took back the bottle and poured for herself. It is not consulting, just finalizing few arrangements. Tsunade started. With Team 7 and 9? Hiruzen's face lit up as he tasted the sake, and whispered to himself, this is good. Yes, for Team 9, Asuna wanted to know the reasons as to why I didn't promote Shikamaru. I also thought that you were going to promote him, seeing that he is the smartest amongst his peerages. Tsunade grinned at that question. Well, after seeing the record of his fight, I will admit that he is. But that was just one fight, that's it. Other than that, there is nothing exceptional. Also, there is his lack of motivation. Well, he is a Nara after all, but if you can guide him, he will become a splendid shinobi just like his father. Hiruzen added his thoughts. That I have no doubt, but that alone wasn't enough. I mean, all those I promoted contributed on the invasion, directly or indirectly. And then there are their missions, in which all of them did something quite extraordinary. Tsunade replied back. Then she leaned back and continued. Well, it's not like I am not recognizing his talent. I will put him on some high-level missions to get him running. And if he can prove himself there, then I will give him a field promotion. Hiruzen nodded back with a smile. I think that is the best. He paused for a second before asking. Team 7? Ah, yeah, that one. That doesn't sound good, Hiruzen said, worried. Well, to make the matter short, I had to disband the team. Tsunade answered with a groan. Hiruzen blinked at first, but before he could say a word, Tsunade continued. I know, I should have tried to find other way, but there was none. That team is a goner. Sasuke got promoted, Sai is MIA, and this Sakura is just stuck in between. Wait. Sai is MIA? Hiruzen asked with a frown. Tsunade raised an eyebrow. Is there something I should know? Later, Tsunade. Hiruzen shook his head. Tsunade nodded back, knowing that her sensei will tell her about it later. Still, why disband though? You could have just added someone. That team was unbalanced from the start, according to the report, that is. Also, this is for the best. I will put Sakura on Team 8, and then pull out Hinata from there. Sakura will grow as she will be away from Sasuke and will have a teacher that can actually help her. Hiruzen wanted to retort but stopped to think for a moment, then he asked. Are you planning on putting all the promoted Chunin in one group? Tsunade couldn't answer as Jiraiya entered through the window as usual. Tsunade just groaned. Perfect timing, pervert. Then she looked at Hiruzen. Actually, this matter is related to what I want to talk about to both you. Oh, come on, Han, no welcome kiss? I feel like I am being used. Jiraiya smirked while Tsunade gave him an irritated look. Not the time, Jiraiya. I think you should fill in for Sensei first. Seeing Tsunade's serious face, Jiraiya nodded back. In an instant his playful look was replaced with serious one. Tsunade got up and went to her desk to get some documents. She looked back and shook her head when she saw how serious Jiraiya was. She always envied Jiraiya. Because of how quickly he could change his emotion and how good he was hiding them also. Putting those thoughts aside, she went back and sat on the sofa. It didn't take much time for Jiraiya to fill Hiruzen about his plan. So you want to take Naruto on 3 years trip? Hiruzen asked, in a serious tone. To hide him from Akatsuki? And also to train him? Jiraiya added with a wry smile. I talked to him about it few days ago, but he didn't take it well. Hiruzen looked at him surprised. Seriously? Training with a Sannin, I thought he would be thrilled by it. He still doesn't see me in a good light, sensei. Jiraiya replied with a sigh. When Hiruzen caught what he meant, even his mood dampened. The Toad Sage then looked at Tsunade. And this is why I asked you to talk to him, to make him see reason. So, did you? Tsunade looked up from the document to see both Jiraiya and Hiruzen looking at her. She closed the file and scratched her chin. She did talk to him. Flashback 2 days ago, it was at night when Tsunade was able to see Naruto. More like Naruto came to her, when she was in her private office room. She kept this room so she could do some Hokage works in her home, while relaxing. It made the workload less stressful. Tsunade kept looking at Naruto, who had his gaze down. He was fidgeting. Tsunade knew what Naruto wanted to talk to her about. Jiraiya told her about his plan the day before. She was reluctant, but the Toad Sage reassured her about his idea. But the problem arose when he talked to Naruto about it. He strongly refused. So Jiraiya had no choice but to ask her to make Naruto understand, because there was no point in forcing him to go with Jiraiya. Tsunade-Oba-chan. Naruto finally broke the silence. Yes. You heard about it, right? It wasn't a question, Naruto. Tsunade started with a soft voice. What Jiraiya said, you have to admit, is true. I know you don't want to go with him. But this is for your own good. Seeing that Naruto still wasn't looking, Tsunade asked. Okay, tell me why you don't want to go. I mean, who doesn't want to be taught by a legendary Sannin? I don't want to be away from my family. Not when I just got one. Naruto replied. He is your family as well, Naruto. He is your godfather. Tsunade knew that wasn't what Naruto wanted to hear when he looked up. His eyes were full of anger. He really did a splendid job being a godfather. Naruto growled. He never showed his face when I needed him the most. Okay, alright, he had a job to do. But what right he has to take me away from my family? Tsunade finally understood where the problem was. So she tried a different approach. I can see where you are coming from, Naruto. Jiraiya did a shitty job, I agree. But his points remain valid. Akatsuki are out there, gaining strength. I don't have to tell you how strong they are, because you know. You fought them. So as a family member, I would rather have you go take this trip to become strong. Naruto didn't lash out. Tsunade was relieved at that. He thought over for a moment about what Tsunade said. And then he counterattacked. Tsunade-Oba-chan, I was a dead last when I graduated. I had the poorest score and my skills were below average. From there I became one of the strongest genin before entering the Chunin exam. The gap was 6 months. And even in the exam you pointed out, as a Hokage, that I did an outstanding job. The fun fact is, I did all that without any Sannin's help. Naruto smirked when he saw Tsunade widening her eyes. So he pressed on. I guarantee you that I can become strong, without his help. But you can become stronger with his help. I mean, he is one of the strongest shinobi we have. Tsunade argued back. Naruto paused again, then he smiled. Yes, he is, but I don't think he can help me to master what I am good at. Now it was Tsunade's time to ponder about it. Naruto's argument was valid, but it wasn't enough. Still, fine, Naruto. I will give you till tomorrow. If you can tell me, I mean full-out plan, how you can be stronger without the pervert's help, I will help you. But not just words, I need solid ideas. Can you do that? Tsunade already knew the answer when she saw the look on his eyes. Flashback ends. Naruto does live up to his title of most unpredictable shinobi, if I say so myself. Tsunade chuckled. Yes, but where did that come from? Jiraiya asked, confused. Well, the thing is, Jiraiya. Tsunade leaned back, wanted to savor this moment. He was able to convince me to go on his side. The grin went from ear to ear as she witnessed the dumbfounded look on Jiraiya and Hiruzen. That just made her day. She added as they didn't recover from the shock. I fully intended to convince him to go on the trip. She paused purposely. But let's just say he has a way with his words. Tell me you are joking, Tsunade. But seeing the look on her face, Jiraiya got his answer. With a groan he continued. This is a serious issue here, Tsunade. His life is in grave danger. Tsunade looked back Jiraiya with a raised eyebrow. I didn't take his side just for the laughs, Jiraiya. How about this? Her smirk widened as she gave a side look at Hiruzen. We will debate this out. Your idea and my idea. Sensei will be the judge to see whose one is better. The loser has to pay for the winner's food for a whole month. Tsunade. Jiraiya narrowed his eyes slightly. Most of these Akatsuki members are S rank, some may even be stronger than a Kage. And I am not even talking about the leader. Who knows how strong he is? We should be thinking about Naruto's safety seriously here. We should, but from whose perspective and for who exactly? Tsunade grinned, seeing the stunned look on Jiraiya. Her day was getting better and better. This is your first mistake, Jiraiya. You are taking his safety seriously, I can see that. But you are thinking about Naruto the Jinchuriki, not Naruto the Senju clan heir, not Naruto the Fourth's legacy, and definitely not about Naruto himself. Wait, what does? But Jiraiya couldn't finish as he found the answer of his own question. I see you got it. His life was in constant danger the moment he was born in this world. I get it that he got an extra tag cause of his Jinchuriki status, but let's not forget about the other huge tags on his back. And the biggest one would be him being the only storm release user in Konoha rather than Jinchuriki. Tsunade explained. Jiraiya understood what Tsunade meant. While it was true that Akatsuki was a huge threat, but right now they went under, and that gave some time. But Naruto was already facing problems because of his unexpected bloodline release. He sighed heavily. He had to give it to Tsunade, but only this round. And isn't that exactly why my way is better? They can't harm him if they can't find him. Valid reason, but here is the second point that you overlooked, Jiraiya. You are an awesome teacher. I don't know anyone who is better than you other than our sensei. But your teaching style is not compatible with Naruto. Tsunade put up her hand to stop Jiraiya before continuing. You are a subtle type of fighter, and he is anything but that. Your specialty is Fuin Jutsu and summoning jutsu, but he is focusing more on his storm release and his kenjutsu. I did tell him about your specialty. While he was awed, he clearly pointed out he want to master his specialty first. If I remember, his exact words were, "They are awesome, but why should I learn them first? I should master my specialty first, no? Brilliant kid, wouldn't you say so?" Jiraiya rubbed his forehead. Tsunade was right. Because he tried to get Naruto to sign the Toad contract quite a few times, when they were together. Although Naruto did like toads, but for some reason he was reluctant to sign it. He couldn't push him because he thought that Naruto would eventually sign it. Jiraiya didn't want to bring out the prophecy part because it wasn't the right time. He looked at Tsunade. So what is your plan then? Tsunade grinned like a Cheshire cat. Two things that you said about Akatsuki that made me think. First is that they are aiming for Jinchuriki, and the second is that they always go around with two members. Then it clicked. And this is where we can both protect Naruto and defeat Akatsuki at the same time. What do you mean? Jiraiya asked, surprised. Even Hiruzen was surprised, but he kept quiet. He wanted to see how this ends, but at this point it was clear. Anyone could see that Tsunade's argument was on point. Now all that was left was to see what her plan was. The Akatsuki goes around in a team of two because that is the best formation to capture any Jinchuriki. Think about it, usually Jinchuriki doesn't work on a team. So it is 2 versus 1. Also, the Jinchuriki will fight in a secluded place when faced with such strong adversary. In order to fight them using their full powers, because no one is gonna help a Jinchuriki anyway. Tsunade grimaced. It was the harsh truth. But it was just for a moment as she looked back with a fire in her eyes. So we used their formation against them. With that she threw the file at Jiraiya. Intrigued, Hiruzen came closer to see what it was about. But just the first page was enough. Wait, you mean you want to? Yes, I want to recreate Team Zero. There was a pause as both of them looked at the file for a few seconds before Jiraiya burst out laughing. He didn't need to read the full content. He understood what Tsunade was going for, and he had to admit. It was an ingenious plan. He smirked at her. It's my loss, Heim. But I have to admit you got me good this time. Still, to think of all these in a day with your busy schedule, it was something. Tsunade groaned inwardly. Of course, there was no way she could have fooled him all the way. I had help. Flashback: one day ago. Naruto gulped as he looked at the door of Tsunade's private study room. It wasn't that he was as confident as he was the day before, he just didn't know what would be the outcome. And that was scaring him this time. When Jiraiya told him about his intention, he was angry. After talking with Reiju, he knew that he was being stubborn. But he didn't want to budge. For 13 years he was alone. And now when he finally has a family and his life was looking good, Jiraiya was trying to take him away. Reiju did point out that it was his way of thinking. But Reiju was also against the Toad Sage's idea, for a different reason. Because it would be hard to hide his existence from someone like Jiraiya. Reiju didn't know the man personally, but the title Spy Master of Konoha was enough for him. So he helped him to talk it out with Tsunade. Although she wasn't taking Jiraiya's side fully, she wasn't also taking their side. But the thing was, she was thinking of Naruto's safety, first and foremost. And that helped him to take the next step. Come on, kid, The door isn't gonna open if you just stand there. Naruto nodded and nervously knocked. When he heard come in, with a gulp he went inside. Tsunade was sitting just like yesterday, looking bored. But the look of boredom was gone as soon as Naruto entered. So brat, you got what I asked for? Tsunade asked directly. Promise me you won't freak out, Naruto said nervously. Now that piqued Tsunade's interest. She gave a nod of acknowledgement. There was another reason Reiju wasn't so keen on letting Jiraiya to take Naruto. It was because of what Jiraiya wanted Naruto to learn. Reiju was able to figure out that for some reason Jiraiya wanted Naruto to learn the way of the Toad Sage techniques. The thing was the way Naruto was learning Senjutsu. Toad's style would only hamper him. And also Reiju had thought of a special summoning style for Naruto. But under the eyes of Jiraiya it would be hard to pull off. So there was only one way to guarantee that Jiraiya wouldn't take Naruto to that 3 years training trip. Someone like her won't freak out. But I do hope you let me speak first before barraging me with questions. Reiju came out from thin air and revealed himself to the 5th Hokage. And that way was, to tell her about him and the truth about Naruto's powers. Flashback ends. Jiraiya grinned. You had help. Tsunade just hummed in response. Regardless, Hiruzen cut in. It is a well-thought idea. But first we have to tell the members about it. None of them are on any missions. Tsunade snapped her finger, and an Umbu came in. Tell these shinobi to meet me after lunch break. She gave the Umbu a paper. The Umbu nodded back and vanished. Guess all we have to do now is to wait. Hiruzen relaxed as he started to go through the file again. By the way, Haim, about the bet. Sake is included. You are gonna suck me dry, aren't you? Chapter 39, Team 0. Tsunade could see how ecstatic Naruto was. Because he wasn't alone in the Hokage office. The other promoted genin were also there. It wasn't hard to put the dots together to understand that Jiraiya lost the argument. Tsunade also didn't miss Naruto giving Jiraiya a cocky grin. I am sure that most of you are confused as to why I asked all of you to come here. Tsunade started. I will be direct. It's to recreate a special ops team, and it's known as Team 0. The confusion in their faces was evident, but they stayed quiet. Tsunade nodded before continuing. I guess I should start by telling all of you what this special team is about. Tsunade paused to think where she should start. Jiraiya smiled. He started to help Tsunade out. Let's start from the basic. You guys shouldn't know about Team 0 because the information regarding it is always kept secret. For a good reason too. Since the foundation of Konoha, Team 0 was assembled only 3 times. Jiraiya looked at Tsunade, who nodded back. Why not you brats sit down? It's going to take some time. And I think the third should tell since he knows about it the best. Jiraiya grinned at his sensei, who smiled back in return. Don't think that I didn't notice you making fun of my age, Jiraiya. Hiruzen turned toward his real audience and smiled. Well then, why not we start from the beginning? The very first Team 0 was formed by Harashima and Madara. Not much is known other than the fact that it was created during the birth of Konoha. Unfortunately, it didn't last long. Second was under Tobirama, before he became the second Hokage. I was a member of Team 0 at that time. The team went through few reformations, but it lasted the longest. Sadly, it ended because of a dispute between me and another member. The last one was created by me, and can you guess who were in that team? The 3 Sannin? Surprisingly, it was Hinata who replied. Hiruzen smiled at the answer. Yes, they were part of it. It was for a short duration though. Because of some unforeseen circumstances, the team had to be disbanded. Before I explain further, a small test if you will. What did you learn from all of these? Well, 2 things actually. First is that the team is created out of necessity. And second is that it will recruit strong people. Or people with special talent, I suppose. Sasuke pointed out. Can you elaborate, Sasuke? Hiruzen asked. Well, if I am not mistaken, 2 out of 3 times it was during or before the Great War when the team was assembled. Not sure about the first time. But I think it is related to the origin of our village? Sasuke pondered before continuing. And I don't think I have to elaborate about my second point. Guess you know about history quite well, Sasuke. Tsunade praised him. She nodded at her sensei before continuing. As Sasuke said, Team 0 only reassembles under certain circumstances. So before I go into what is the main purpose of reassembling Team 0 once again and recruiting you for, let me tell you how this team works. First thing you have to know that Team Zero is not a 4-man unit, but a 6-man platoon. Also, the formation of the team will change depending on the circumstances. For the current Team Zero, here is how the formation will be. 4 crew members and 2 leaders. I would like to recruit you 4 as the crew of Team Zero. But before going any further than this, I have to confirm this with all of you. Tsunade paused to look at all the newly promoted Chunin. Are you willing to join Team Zero? For an easier reference, think of it like joining a special Umbu squad. You are not allowed to share anything with anyone without our consent. So, are you willing to join? Tsunade asked again. I am. Naruto answered without hesitation. I will as well. Haku and Hinata followed soon after. Count me in too. Sasuke added after thinking for a minute. Tsunade arched an eyebrow at the answers. She knew why Naruto wanted to join, but the rest? She thought that the others would at least take some time to think about this. She gave Hiruzen a subtle glance who caught the meaning. Before moving on to the next part, I would like to inform about the 2 leaders you will be following. The main leader is Hiruzen Sarutobi, and the second in command is Yamato. There was a pin-drop silence. You mean to tell me that we will be working alongside a former Hokage? Haku blinked. Why not you let me handle this, Tsunade? Hiruzen spoke up. He got up and looked at the confused Chunin. Let's change the venue, shall we? There is much to discuss. He then gestured toward the door. Naruto and others got up and followed after him. After everyone left, Jiraiya turned to Tsunade. Is he going to tell them everything? Everything that they needed to know. Tsunade answered. Jiraiya sighed hearing that. I just hope they don't feel too burdened by that. Regardless, they should start by knowing the truth. Tsunade smiled as she continued. But you have to admit, if this goes well, they will be able to catch up with us old Sannin. Jiraiya smirked. I think they will do more than just catching up. I hope you are right. Meanwhile, Hiruzen was making tea in his private office room. He looked back to see Naruto and his friends were reading the file about Akatsuki and Jinchuriki. He gave them the file the moment they got here. It would save a lot of time. The file contained most information regarding the 2 subjects, but the sensitive ones were cut off. In due time, they would know about them. He didn't see it coming, him teaching again that is. But Tsunade was quite convincing about it. Her scoring point was that he had a lot of free time, more than Jiraiya. Tsunade was right about this. Right now Jiraiya's service was needed the most. And if he had to admit, he was quite eager to teach as well. Hiruzen took the tray and put down on the table. He sat down and looked at the newly promoted Chunin. He had to admit that all of them were quite talented, and he was itching to start training them. He knew that with proper training they could even surpass the old Sannin. The reason the 3 Sannin were popular was not only because of their strength and their contribution during the war. It was their specialty. And Hiruzen could see that all the kids sitting opposite of him had that. Hinata could surpass Tsunade if she would focus on medical field. She had the eyes, the skills, and the patience for it. She could even surpass Tsunade in fighting, seeing how she fared against her opponent in the final. Her gentle fist could crush the traditional one, and if it reached perfection, there is a possibility that it could evolve and might match the true power of hard fist. Sasuke was like Orochimaru. Prodigy, clear-headed and focused on one goal, one wrong goal. He couldn't prevent Orochimaru from going to the wrong path, but he would make sure that he wouldn't make the same mistake with Sasuke. He was even prepared to tell the truth to the last Uchiha if it was needed. And somehow if it would come to that, then he would let Sasuke decide what he would do. As for Naruto, he had the same free-spirited mentality like Jiraiya. But his fighting style was completely different than the Toad Sage. Regardless, both he and Jiraiya knew that if anyone would surpass the Sannin, it would be Naruto. Not only he awakened one of the rarest bloodline, but somehow he also knew how to use it. And then there was his Kenjutsu. Right now it wasn't perfected yet, but Hiruzen could see the infamous lost katana art in his style. With proper guidance, Naruto might be able to reintroduce the fierce Uzumaki Kenjutsu to the world once again. Then there was Haku. If Hiruzen were to be honest, she was the role model for Kunoichi. She was kind, but it wouldn't stop her from killing. She had her own tragedies, but she didn't let them shape her. She knew when to mingle like a cheerful, attractive girl and when to act like a ruthless Kunoichi. And also no one could deny that she was strong, very strong. Hiruzen could say that she was one of the most competent Chunin he had seen because of her wide array of skills, sharp mind, and the experience she had with Zabuza. With proper training, She could become the next Umbu or Jonin commander easily. Hiruzen smiled as he sipped his tea. He didn't miss Naruto finishing the file fast. Haku and Hinata were close behind him. They kept giving him subtle glances after they were done. From that reaction he figured out that Naruto must have told the two girls about Akatsuki and him at some point. Sasuke finished last. The look of confusion was evident on his face, but it was clear that he was trying to figure it out. Guess it was time. All of you are done? Hiruzen asked. If I may. Sasuke started. Seeing Hiruzen nodding, he continued. This Akatsuki is an unknown organization. Not much about them is known other than the fact that they acted as a mercenary group for some time. Now they are after Jinchuriki. And these Jinchuriki contains tailed beasts inside them. And it is written here that Kyuubi was one of these so-called tailed beasts. So how are they supposed to gather all of the 9 beasts if one of them is dead? You are on point, Sasuke. But what isn't written there is that the tailed beasts can't be killed because they are an entity made of only chakra. If somehow one gets killed, they will come back to life again after a few years. So the best method is to seal them. Hiruzen stopped to see others' reaction. Naruto was unusually quiet. It couldn't be avoided. Naruto, will you? Naruto flinched, but then his shoulders sagged. With a sigh, he blurted out everything in one go. Well, I can't go roundabout on this. So here is the truth. Fourth didn't kill the Kyuubi, he sealed it inside me. Sasuke blinked and then looked at Hiruzen, who nodded in confirmation. Suddenly his eyes snapped toward Hinata and Haku, who didn't look least bit fazed. Wait, so you two knew about this? Hinata knew by accident and I told Haku because I consider her as my family. Naruto then looked at Hiruzen. Don't worry, I didn't tell Ranmari yet. Sasuke sighed. This is too much. Naruto pondered for a while and then suddenly it hit him. Gramps, why not start from that day? I didn't tell any of them about that. Haku raised an eyebrow at hearing that, making Naruto to look back at her sheepishly. Hiruzen smiled. Whether it was intentionally or unintentionally, Naruto called him Gramps. It had been quite some time since he did that. With a smile he replied, But then I will have to tell about your heritage, is that okay? Yes, Hinata-chan already knows about them. Naruto replied. Fine then. Hiruzen had a sad look as he started. Let me tell you the truth of what happened 13 years ago. Sound Village Orochimaru looked at the person in front of him. He had to say, he was surprised when the guy came knocking on his front door, literally. He would have had him killed, but his instinct told him not to. Turned out, it was the right decision. He bargained a good deal to him. But the problem was Orochimaru had no idea who he was. It was even hard to figure out his origin. The most notable feature of him was his eyes and his hair. They were red, crimson red. He can't be an Uzumaki, Orochimaru thought. No reason to ponder about it. So, Shinka-san, I will be honest. Before we further the discussion regarding the deal, I would like to know who you are. Because you see, I am in a tough spot here. You know where I live and what do I want. The problem is I can't say the same about you, Orochimaru said. That's understandable. As someone of your reputation should be careful. But I think you will be able to figure out quite a lot after seeing this. With that, the person gave him a folder. When Orochimaru looked through it, he was quite surprised. So what do you think? The medicine for that Kagai kid in exchange of these 2 persons. Not a bad deal, right? Orochimaru looked back at him and gave him a sly smirk. You are an Uzumaki, aren't you? Like I said, you will figure it out. Well, once again. How do you know so much? Now don't get me wrong, I would love to get that medicine in exchange for these 2. But right now, I can't put my faith on your product. I will be honest here. The medicine comes in 2 parts. I will give both of those to you. But it will not cure him fully. He will live another 5 to 6 years. After that, I can't guarantee what will happen. 5 to 6 years, I believe that is the best that you can get out of him. Shinka continued. And how do I know so much? I was in that invasion. Of course I wasn't on anyone's side. But I saw enough. Did that help? You followed us? It wasn't a question but a statement. Like I said, I saw enough. Shinka shrugged. How can I be sure that this medicine is going to work? Orochimaru asked as he picked up the vial. I am sure you have some top-notch doctors around here. They will be able to tell you. Also, here's the thing, if they are really that good, then they may be able to boost the medicine's effect as well. So what do you say? One last thing, Orochimaru asked, putting the vial down, close to him. After the deal, where will we stand? Acquaintances, perhaps. Because if my hunch is right, then we will be doing a few more trades in the future as well, Shinku replied. Orochimaru could tell that something about him was off. But he just couldn't point it out. Holding his gaze for a few more seconds, he finally broke the silence. Pleasure doing business with you. Oh no, the pleasure is all mine. It was the first time Orochimaru saw a glint in his eyes. An hour later. Are they viable, Kabuto? They are, Orochimaru-sama, but I have to say this is quite an interesting method, Kabuto replied. It didn't take him much long to figure out what the medicines were. How so? The first vial doesn't contain any cure or antidote but rather a poison. Orochimaru blinked after hearing that. Kabuto grinned as he continued. The poison is potent. And it is meant to fight the virus inside of Kimimaro. The poison will not be able to destroy the virus fully, but it will greatly weaken it. Then it clicked as Orochimaru laughed. And let me guess. The second vial is the antidote for the poison. Kabuto nodded but soon frowned. Was it really okay to hand over Taiya? She knows a lot. I know. Orochimaru went past Kabuto and picked up the medicine. But the thing is, Kabuto, we are not staying here for long. Also, I don't think he has any interest on what I do. No. He smirked. I have a feeling that we will be helping each other in the future, be it directly or indirectly. Kabuto adjusted his glass. His mind going overdrive trying to figure out what his master meant. Seeing his student was silent, Orochimaru started. Let's not fret about this. I want you to focus on Kimimaro for now. Of course. Kabuto sighed. Only if he would come a few days earlier. What's done is done, Kabuto. My new body isn't so bad, Orochimaru replied. But the smile left his face as he spoke the next words. It's a regret that I couldn't mark Sasuke though. We could always send some people. It was a suggestion, but Kabuto knew Orochimaru wouldn't do it. And he was right as his master nodded his head negatively. With Taiya gone, and those two imbeciles dying in the invasion, we are short on capable people. Orochimaru groaned. If Sasuke was marked, maybe then I would have sent a few to snatch him. But unfortunately he isn't. So I can't influence him in any way. I see. But I am sure opportunities will come by. We just have to be ready to snatch them when they do. Back in Konoha. This is... Haku rubbed her forehead. Why weren't we told about any of this? Sasuke retorted. Are you seriously asking me that, Sasuke? Hiruzen gave a dry smile. Sasuke groaned. He knew that there were plenty of reasons for hiding the truth. Now that he thought about it, how did no one question about a giant fox made of pure raw chakra appearing in front of Konoha out of nowhere? He also felt bad about what happened to Naruto's family, and the burden that he had to carry. Of course, for a brief moment he was enticed about having a chakra beast sealed within oneself. But it didn't last long. He needed power, yes. But not at this kind of cost. Sasuke turned to Naruto, who caught him looking. What is it, team? Nothing, dope. A small pause. Don't worry. I am not like everyone else. Sasuke didn't know how much powers his words carried. Naruto turned away, to hide his smile. Hinata saw it and squeezed his hand. Naruto quickly straightened up and looked at Hiruzen. Wait, Gramps, you still didn't tell me why you of all people are coming with us? Hiruzen chuckled. It seemed that his question caught everyone's attention. With a nod, he started his explanation. The main purpose of Team Zero this time is to train a team that could take on Akatsuki. He immediately raised his hand to stop all the retorts. This sounds insane now, but trust me, in due time all of you will be strong enough to take on the Akatsuki. We will make sure of that. Also, what I mean taking them on is not to go to their main base and knock on their door. No, what I mean is to take down their main teams separately, one by one. You want us to hunt them down? Haku pointed out. Yes. Hiruzen confirmed Haku's point. According to our intel, they go around in a team of 2. What we think that it is to maximize their effort to catch a Jinchuriki, since they tend to stay alone. So we want to create a team that could counter them. So you want us to use their 2-on-1 formation against them? Hinata asked. Yes, but it will not work unless you are strong and resourceful. After all, quite a lot of them can be considered as S rank. Hiruzen replied. So, let me get this straight. You are here to train us. And when we reach a satisfying level, you are going to disband the Team Zero, and we 4 will have to go to another team? This time, the question came from Naruto. You can still continue Team Zero, but it is something that we have to see when the time comes. Hiruzen then looked at the last member. Sasuke? Sasuke blinked, surprised that everyone was looking at him. Sorry, I was thinking about something. Would you mind sharing? The last Uchiha hesitated before sighing. If one-tailed beast could do so much damage, what can 9 do if they are all gathered? I will not lie to any of you. Hiruzen sighed, his shoulder dropped. If Akatsuki can even get 4 to 5-tailed beasts, they can easily start the next great war. Everyone was shocked at the revelation. Then it finally started to sink in the importance of their mission. So that is why I will train you with my utmost capability, so that you can take down Akatsuki before it is too late. Hiruzen stood up and everyone followed. I know that we shouldn't put so much responsibility on your shoulders when you are so young. But our hands are tied. Hiruzen paused for a second. So I will ask again, will you join Team Zero? Naruto, Hinata, Sasuke and Haku looked at each other for a brief moment. The answer was clear. Yes. Author's note. Done. Finally, Chapter 40, End of Naruto Arc.